Heyo! Not only am I not on time, I don't know where my mask is. So, heyo, it's Omnidog here with Earth-1 Jess. Earth-1 Jess, how are you doing today?
I'm surviving the heat wave. How are you doing?
Uh,
Not well,
yeah,
obviously. You forgot your mask. We're
I forgot my
late.
mask. I'm all messed up, and we're late because I was telling you about my Father's Day. It's the sun's not out today. It's completely overcast, and it's still
Mm.
96. So that shows you how hot it really is when there's no sun and it's just crazy hot. But yeah,
Yeah, it's been a
um,
good time to just stay inside and read books. And
yeah.
yeah.
Lily the cat has been in and out of our house like 5 times each day the past 6 days, but she seems restless. She just wants to sit on the floor and chill out. And
Hmm.
and of course I talk to her like I think I'm talking to somebody rational. Why are you going back outside? Wouldn't you rather be in here and just rest and have some water? And she just looks at me and just goes outside. I'm like, I'm not getting through to that cat. I don't know.
Mm. Well, he only makes everyone like a little crazier, a little more restless. So that jogs.
um, and here's Booster Green. Welcome, Kane. Wait, I'll transition for you here in a sec, Kane. I have that clip. Chris, I was just thinking about Chris because we have the show today is about Superman. This is Earth-1 and Earth-2 Jess talking Superman. We're going to talk Superman for all seasons, and then the Superman story in this book. Oh, I see we have two different color covers. That's interesting. Do you have the
And
absolute of
oh no.
Oh,
This is
oh, okay.
I hadn't read this until this year. This is not my second time reading it actually. This is just a giant oversized paperback
Cool.
that was cheap on eBay when Freddie influenced me and was like, "No, really, you would like it." And you know
Oh,
what? He was right. Almost all of
Freddie.
these a banger except for two, but we'll get there later.
Right, and I was going to ask you about that. Because one reason I like having a co-host is because I want to get somebody else's opinion on stuff. I like how people, all my various co-hosts and I can read the same book and come up with a different opinion, or see the same movie and come up with a different opinion, which I
For sure.
like. And I was going to say, I called out Chris here because in my Discord, he goes to the library to get his books,
Mhm.
which is cool because his library, he'll just say library hall, and it'll be 7 graphic novels that I've never even heard of. And he always comes back with all this stuff. And I'm like, my library doesn't even have Mouse or freaking Watchmen or anything. It doesn't even have anything
Really?
obvious. It's not a good
Mm.
I don't know what, I had to go to a neighboring county to get my Hoopla card because Fairfax County didn't
Mm.
have it, wouldn't do Hoopla. And so I don't there's something different about the library systems, but Chris gets stuff that like eight straight times he'll have a stack of 7 books and I'll recognize maybe one, and it's
Mhm.
on a sunbeam that he's reading for the 8th time or something. But everything else he gets is
As we
so
all should.
yes. Um, Everything else he gets is so interesting and
Mm.
unusual. I feel like he can almost just stick his hand in blindly and yank out. There must be a whole wing dedicated to the graphic novel wherever he lives. Chris, I'm kind of jealous of where your library, and I'm not kind of jealous. I'm really jealous because that's the way to get exposed to really
Mhm.
in different and interesting stuff. Yes, Death Rattle. I was late. James is, what is he doing there?
It's just one superhero with a ponytail, so I'm gonna guess that's for me, but if you wanna rock a pony one day, I'll support you, Jess.
Rock a
100%.
pony, rock a pony, rock a pony. Here's not my real nephew, but Ryan Bragg. Moonin's here, yay. Oh, here's Cycle yelling about something we're not even going to be talking about. What what
We
what are
may one
you
day. We
what are
may.
you on about, Cycle? Yes, I've heard that. Craze Cassowary, good to see you. Lethal Lucha, Javier. Oh, we're getting some regulars in here. Sazmer, good to see you. Heavy Rice, sup? Welcome. Here's my Discord. Thank you. Let's see. These are both, Booster says, these are both of my top 5 Superman stories. Peace on Earth is the perfect rebuttal for the Superman is boring crowd. His powers can solve every problem so easily. Ha.
Yeah, we're gonna
Right.
talk about that for sure.
We
Yeah.
will. Oh, Bar's
Oh.
here. I'm glad you're here, Bar. Check my shirt out. I have to stand up and there we
I was
go.
like, "Where is your head?" I see now that you're standing.
I'm up here now. Yeah. It's a gift from Mr. Tex, I believe. I always get Mr. Tex and Sazmer mixed up, but I think it was Mr. Tex that sent me this.
It is a
Chris
cool
is a
shirt.
reading machine. Yeah. He did rock that pink haircut, so I don't doubt that Jess can pull off. Oh, bangs. No.
Oh, bangs and a pony going full 90s middle school era.
I did have, it wasn't called a mullet, but I did have longer hair in the back and shorter hair.
What
In
was
the
that called
80s, it was
for
called,
you?
I did it because Rick Ocasek from the Cars had it. And I thought, oh, that looks cool. But looking back now, yeah,
It was a mullet. It's okay to admit it. It's a
yeah,
safe space, Jess. You always talk about creating a safe space, and this is a safe space to talk about your mullet
yeah.
era.
Apparently, yeah, I was an early mullet adopter.
Love. It's back. Like little kids at the park all have mullets. Like 6-year-olds, they love it. So I think you were a trendsetter.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
nice. Thank you. I don't bangs. I mean, I can get my hair's too short, but I can get it down in my forehead. But otherwise, I'm not gonna. I don't think I'd look good in bangs. But if you think I would, Bar, I could try it. What am I on about? You guys don't know Superboy? Yeah, we do. But we're not talking about him.
Today.
Something's killing the children. Yeah or nah?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, in a big way.
I really loved, shout out to the first volume of House of Slaughter, which was honestly my favorite in that whole like world. But the second volume, I really did not like at all. It was such a letdown, but it was one
House
of
of
my biggest
Slaughter.
surprises. Yeah, the first
I
volume.
haven't read either of them yet.
Okay, yeah. Well, you haven't read any Something is Killing the Children?
I've read Something's Killing the Children,
Okay.
the first deluxe. I have the second
Okay.
deluxe waiting for me. Actually, in my honest to God, I am going to read it pile. Not my delusional pile, but it's upstairs waiting for me. But I haven't read House of Slaughter yet.
Yeah, I would be so curious actually about your thoughts on volume 1, and you can read volume 1 as long as you've read, I think, just even the first volume or 2 volumes of what you already have of the main series, because it's a prequel. It's a like
Oh, okay.
before about one of the characters that is in some of those earlier issues. I'd be curious about your thoughts about it. Yeah, for sure.
And I can read that on Hoopla, so I can do that. We can have Earth-1 Jess and Earth-2 Jess talking, killing the children. No, wait.
This is our special children killing segment.
Yeah. Jess, you should check if the library has an app, because I just search for titles I find on Goodreads and put a hold on them. Then the other libraries in my county will send them to my local library.
Yeah.
Okay, well then extra special shout out to you, Chris, because I don't even recognize any of the titles you look for. I wouldn't even know to look for those titles. I think it's amazing that you even pull those titles, but I've actually got so much to read that I already own. It's probably a good thing that I don't, except that I would get exposure to all the sort of under the radar things that I don't read. So that would be better if I could do that. But if I shove my chest in the camera like that, it'll be considered inappropriate. Shake my head. Yeah, sorry, Bar. I mean, I just wanted to show you this, so you can do this.
Well, when Jess grows his pony and bangs, people may also sort of look a little bit sideways, but
my pony. Oh, Stuttering John is on live? Oh, Cycle, you must be pulled in two directions. Yeah, I love Stuttering John. Oh, I see. Pony in Hebrew means bangs, and I mixed the two up. Well, no,
Oh.
you've got a whole new look going for me now. Pony and bangs. In pink. Summoner, hello? Hello? Mullets are cruel and unusual.
I mean, I kind of think they're rad. I'm not gonna lie. But Jess and I were just talking about my nihilism earlier, so I'm all about just do whatever you want. If you want to have a mullet with bangs, a pony, just
And
the
eat
world
that
will
candy
end.
bar.
So go for it.
Yeah. During the pandemic, my wife said, I think you should grow your hair long. I'm like, okay. And I did. And we're looking back at pictures of it. And she goes, what was I thinking? And I go, I don't know. I just take orders here. I
Oh
don't,
my gosh.
it didn't look good.
I want to see those.
It's
The world wants to see them, I think.
it was just my hair doesn't grow down now. It sort of grows out. So
Okay.
it was really curly. It was curly this way, like Mary Tyler Moore. I was getting little flips down here, and it was down. It wasn't really that long. I couldn't get it in a man bun or anything. It wasn't that long. It just looked unruly. And I mean, I'll grow my hair long for like raising money for a charity if somebody wants. But other than that, I don't think it's a good look for me. I mean,
Mary Tyler Moore, though, you could do worse. She did make it after all, just like the song said. So. She did. And you can too.
She did.
Yeah.
Something is killing the children. Book 1 is amazing, and it has been diminishing returns after, unfortunately. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Heavy Rice, thoughts on DG's? Oh, wait. Are we going back to that? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
ran right
I
over
kind
you.
of agree with this. I'm hanging on to hope. I don't think it's gotten worse at all, but I do feel like the main story isn't progressing as fast as I would want it. Like, I feel like we are being a bit repetitive, which is why reading that first volume of House of Slaughter got me kind of excited just about the world in general. But then, yeah, volume 2 let me down. So we'll see as we continue through. But I kind of agree with that a little bit.
I have faith in Tiny Onion.
Absolutely.
Have you read Department of Truth yet?
I haven't, no.
Oh, I
heard mixed things about it, so I've been staying away from it, but maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it and thought it was incredible. It leans into every crazy conspiracy theory possible. And there's a Department of Truth out there that's trying to snuff out conspiracy theories before they get momentum, because in the United States, in this Department of Truth world, they're self generating. They since you believe in it, it does, which is true of a lot of things. But if you put faith in it and you believe in it, it actually manifests itself. So the Department of the Truth is out there to stop them from manifesting.
Like, it's literally happening, not just that person is seeing all the signs that they're looking for. Like, it really is.
If enough people believe in something, it starts to manifest itself. Okay. So I thought it was really cool. And I hate to use the word cerebral, but I'm going to use the word cerebral. I think it's pretty thought-provoking and cerebral.
Okay.
But it's not a hard read, but
I'll put it higher on my list, then I'm going to make a note.
Yeah. I dug it. And since you're cerebral, maybe you dig it.
I mean, I've never had a mullet, but I do like to think outside the box.
How about bangs? Have you ever had bangs?
I have had bangs, yes. I had like a mom cut when I was in kindergarten. Like, I looked like people.
You mean your mom cut it, or your mom?
Nope. I looked like someone's mom was shrunk into a kindergartner. I'll send you a picture of it afterwards. Yeah, I definitely will. And that was kind of a bang, because like moms have that swoop or whatever, like the mom haircut.
Sure.
But other than that, I've had them a little bit off and on because I do have a wider forehead. So when I was little, but then now I own it. Like when I was little, my mom was like, "Oh, people with wider foreheads should wear bangs," and then it gave me like a complex.
Oh,
so now I'm like, no bangs. I'm just gonna have this is for my big brain. Oh, parents say these things so innocuously. She was trying to help. She's trying to be helpful. And then the thing you think about is like the negative thing. I think we all have these complexes we've picked up. So,
well, I'm not going to say it on the air, but I'll tell you afterwards because I don't want the chat to latch on to this.
Mm,
I'll tell you what my mom made fun of on me when I was like
okay.
17 years old. And I developed a complex over it like immediately.
Yeah, you do, because you're like really taking them seriously. They're like the people in your life when you're
They're
younger.
supposed to
Yeah.
be your champions. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not supposed to. Yeah. Let's see. Thoughts on DC Digest size books. I haven't picked any up, but Jake from Brave and Bold channel did. He got the Watchmen in digest size. The only thing, I think it's great that they're cheap and anybody can pick them up. I think that for a book like Watchmen, I feel like the art is such a powerful part of that book. I'd rather have it in a bigger thing, but I think it's a good thing. Anything that can get hands cheaply into more people for comics to me is a good thing. I don't know if I'd want to read Sandman that way, but I
Mm.
uh,
How big are they? Is this like Marvel does this a lot with their ones that
yeah,
are for younger people, where like suddenly the first 2 or 3 volumes of Ms. Marvel is in like a smaller Scholastic size? Is that what DC is doing?
yeah,
I haven't seen
we
any
might be
yet.
going for that Scholastic market.
Okay. Well,
But
Watchmen is not a Scholastic
no, it
age
is
book.
not. No, it is not. Which sort of worries me about it, but I'm not going to give it much time.
Yeah, of course.
But Strange Academy, I was one of the chumps that the only way it was coming out at the time were those smaller books. I'm like, and that art
Mm.
really should be, Strange Academy should be blown up. And when the Omni or Deluxe or whatever finally comes out, you're welcome, because I have those dumb smaller size books. Jess is channeling the most Karen look he can't
So true.
he can master. It's gonna have to be pink. I'll rock it all. Thanks for the compliment. I just really like and need to read different types of books. Good for you. I think it's awesome. Comics are dope. What up, buddy? Changing my name to Earth-3 Jess for the
Excellent.
Batter stream. Okay, good. Comics are dope. I think you're on next on Batter Days, aren't you? Let's see. Yes, you are.
What are y'all reading?
I don't think we're reading anything.
Oh, chatting.
What?
Just
Sorry?
chatting?
Yeah, we can have BJ, we can have something. If you want to have a topic, we can have a topic. But when I have a new guest on, I usually just say, what have you been reading? And then we just go where the chat takes us and what we vibe on and stuff. He has the cutest daughter, and her name is Squeak. And I sort of internet adopted her. She's such a little doll. She's so cute. And I think the name Squeak is so freaking cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandpa Munster? No, I looked more like what's his name? Mr. What's his name from the Karate Kid? Miyagi?
Miyagi?
Miyagi. Yeah, I
Mr.
look like
Miyagi?
Mr. Miyagi with this thing. Hey, OAS. What up?
I just had to look up. I mean, I've seen the Munsters, but I couldn't remember what the grandpa looked like. And I mean, he was ahead of his time because, Gen Z, they're always talking about the middle part. And he is indeed rocking a middle part ahead of the time. So maybe that's a compliment. I don't know.
Everybody's hoping that Kane becomes a billionaire. I do too. The joke is, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? 6 months. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. Jess just finished Spider-Man Noir. Loved it. Thanks for the recommendation. Awesome. I'm glad, Rising Phoenix. Doc Elevator here. Good to see you. I'm down for an off-the-cuff chat. Plus, Heroes. That's right. Yeah, we need to talk about Heroes. Good.
Are you watching the show?
Heroes Con.
Oh, I was like, A
Yeah.
little belated Heroes podcast like 10 years later.
Yeah. Save the cheerleader.
Exactly.
I didn't get a chance, but BJ and Chris Balga got a chance to go. I think it's much closer to them than it is me. And I missed a ton of great guests, which I'm really bummed about. Like Greg Rucka was there. I would have really liked to have seen him. The chat, yes, we'll take you into talking about food, ice cream, and cookies. The chat loves food talk, and even though I'm generally not eating that, I encourage it. Thank you. I have many things that I can do here. Yay.
I still don't understand that one. I think when you do this, it should put you in like a lava lamp. Balloons and confetti do not make sense to me for this. This maybe.
A lava lamp. Yeah, you're missing.
And like put glasses over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, Stanley's here. Did you get the Jeff Johns Absolute Superman? Has that come out yet?
I don't know, and I haven't.
No, I haven't either.
I remember we looked up what was going to be in it when we did a bunch of John's last time or the time before, but I can't remember when it said it was coming out.
I feel like it's coming out soonish. James is probably already on it. I don't think it's come out yet. That's the Jeff Johns. Is it just Gary Frank or is it all Jeff Johns Superman? See, I don't remember what we came up with.
I thought when we looked it up, it was kind of not the most linear. Like it wasn't everything for sure, but I could be wrong. My memory is terrible.
I don't think it's out yet, Stanley. I'm almost positive. I know. I am 100% sure it's not out yet. Jess, you just reviewed the Secret Six omnibus. Yes, I did. And I'm getting that from the library probably next week. Oh, good. Good.
That's a great run.
I'll be interested in your thoughts. Here we go. This week, Stanley. Yeah, I did just do a secret. I read that in less than 12 hours. I started it Friday afternoon, finished it Saturday morning, and I rushed to put up my overview review of it. Mostly I wanted to make sure people knew that it was out of order. The mapping was out of order. They have a Birds of Prey arc in there. I think it's Birds of Prey 104 through 109, which needs to be read after the Birds of Prey, the Secret Six miniseries. And they have it before because there's a big spoiler there in that. So I wanted to make sure I got it out and explain to people what the deal was on it.
I am glad you covered it though, because honestly, weirdly enough, because it is an odd book. It's a great like run, but it is it's an odd gang. It's an odd story to pick up on, but it was weirdly like one of the very first things I picked out totally on my own. You know, nobody told me to read it. It didn't come up on a list. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I've read a little bit of Gail Simone. I like her. Let me read more. And I was like, this is awesome. And no one was talking about it. Secret Six.
Back when it was coming out?
When it was, yeah, like the first couple trades were out at the time that I maybe the first 3. And no one was talking about it. And trying to convince people to read it at the time was a hard battle because like you try to describe it and it just people will be like, oh, it's like knockoff Suicide Squad or like stuff like that. And I'm like, not quite, you know, and then you try to name characters that might excite them, but they're all B-list in some ways or seen. So you're just really failing.
B-list is being generous.
Being generous. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
They're like C and D, but they're number 1 in my heart because I really just loved that odd murderous family. And I haven't watched your video yet, but I saw you did it. And I was really glad because I do think people slept on it when it came out. And I think people for sure should jump on it now if they haven't already, because it's a lot of fun and it's very underrated in my opinion.
I agree. I gushed about it. And one of the comments in the video was, I don't even have to watch this overview to know that he's going to love it. LOL. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I did. It
It's
was
so
right.
good.
It was right in my wheelhouse. Doug, welcome. Got Secret Six, Grimm, and Geiger this week. Glad to know that about the reading order. Thanks. Yes, go to my video, Doug, and I don't spoil anything, but I tell you exactly how to read it. And props to Omar from Very Fine Condition, who was the one that pointed it out, because all I'd ever read were the trades for Secret Six, and the Birds of Prey story is not in the trades.
Right.
But it is, DC did us a solid by putting the Birds of Prey in there, but they put it in the wrong order. So yeah, Doug, go to my video because I need more views on it. So yeah, both you and Jess need to go there and just watch a couple minutes just so I get engagement.
I mean, all of it. I'm going to pop popcorn, maybe a fizzy drink.
Nice. I feel better already. I will be going in blind because I have no knowledge of any of those characters, except I think you said Harley is in it. She's in it for like one issue. That's one of the things that's interesting about Secret Six is the ground is always shifting. You never know who to trust, or you never know what's going to change. There's sort of finally towards the end of the first omnibus, there's sort of a core team, but it's gonna change. It always seems to change. So Harley is randomly a member of the Secret Six. And then I wonder if that's in the Birds of Prey. I wonder if that's I can't remember now if that's in the Birds of Prey crossover. But yeah, she's just randomly in it and not for long.
But that's how Suicide Squad is too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, because you have some that are like synonymous with Suicide Squad, but I do feel like they pick up random people, drop random people, just depending on the run or even the issue, or when they choose to adapt it for like animated or live action. They're like, this guy was in it in the 70s. This guy was in it. We'll just put them in the movie together, even though they were never on the team right at the same time. And I think that's fine. Like, it's more like the concept, I think, that is like the consistent thing.
Yeah, and the odd thing about Harley being in Suicide Squad is that at the same time she's out in the regular world doing her crazy stuff, and in Suicide Squad all of a sudden she's in Belle Reve prison. And you're like, okay, well, one of these is another Elseworlds type story, and then you just go, okay, it's comic books, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, the entire first trade is in Infinite Crisis, but that's fine. It
Villains
does come
United, right?
Yeah, Villains United. That's why Secret Six was formed, to combat Villains United. It's made up of the Villains United people who said no and are now have a price tag on their head from the Villain Society, or whatever they're called, the Society. No, Heavy Rice, very fine condition. Not nearly fine. He's very fine. Stanley. After reading Tom King, Stanley made sure I read this, which I did this week, which I loved. I just grabbed Gotham City Year One, which I'm looking forward to. It's great also, Stanley. He and I have talk all the time on Facebook, and he internet bullied me into reading One Bad Day, which I had already. He didn't really internet bully me.
I was gonna say that feels like it would require very little bullying. He would just whisper from the other room with a door shut, and you'd be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll read it right now."
Hang on, I have a cat that wants in. Okay, she's outside. Okay, come on in, sweetheart. It's too hot out there for little black cats. Okay, so Lily is now in the house. I think I left the door closed upstairs, though. Just a sec. I'm doing I have to have Patty open the door. Hi, sweetie.
She heard we were talking about Catman, and she was like, "I'm here. That's my guy. I'm ready."
The cat is in here in the basement, but I closed the door upstairs. So could you open it? About the cat? Oh, she's running right. She's running right towards you. Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye. Yeah. Nice talking to you. Okay. Bye. Yeah. No, it didn't. He just said you should read it, mate, and I was like, yeah. Okay, I will.
You're like, "Got it."
And I did. Um. Okay. So where was I? Oh, here's a question for you. Okay, go.
No, I was trying to remember where you were. Go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
Kane's in the chat. So since we just had the cat in the chat, here's her favorite clip. There we go. Kane likes that. That's a transition clip. Oh yeah, there is a cat protocol. Odefell is the one who used the term according to the cat distribution system, she is now yours. And I'm like, okay, the cat distribution system. Yeah, she needs to go upstairs. That's where the water is. Chris has a question for you. What have you been reading? That's a good question.
Not a ton. I've been struggling a bit with my reading. Comics wise, I am reading through actually with Crazed Cassowary,
Oh, you
the
are?
Giant Days library editions. And I'm on the third one. I should be on the fifth one, but I'm not because it's taking me forever. I'm enjoying it though. Have you read? I can't remember.
I have it all in trade, and
Mhm.
I think I read the first 3 trades and just haven't caught up. I have read all of Lumberjanes,
Mm.
and I signed up for
Oh, are you getting the fancy schmancy ones?
Kristen and I signed up to get the rest 7, 8, 9. I don't know. I
Yeah.
forget how many there are. 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe. For Lumberjanes, yeah,
Yeah.
to the max or whatever they're called, or
Mhm. That's cool. Yeah. I read all of Lumberjanes, but it's been a little while. This one I'm
Same.
enjoying. It definitely feels like you're watching like a British version of Friends while you're reading it, which I do
Giant
enjoy.
Days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like but like college age, I guess. But they do read as older. They read as older and immature all at the same time, which was kind of like Friends as well. And then the other 2 things I'm reading are prose, Audible Grown from Earth-2, Jess.
Ew.
The the new Stephen King short story anthology I'm reading. I'm halfway through. And then Kristen actually and I both like reading Riley Sager books, which are like thriller with a little paranormal. And he has a new one that just came out. So I'm also reading that.
Ooh. I actually do like prose. That's all I used to read, but I just haven't had time.
Time. Yeah.
It's more of a time thing. It's not the Audible Grown would be more for manga than it would be for prose, because
Mm.
I do still have prose books in the house, but not manga. I just can't read it. Here's a good question. As much as you guys read, how do you not get burnt out?
You ride the wave. I said I really struggled in May, late May, early June. I read almost absolutely nothing. Prior to that, I was reading a ton because especially in the winter, I feel like I was inside a lot. And I just don't push myself to read. If I'm feeling like if I'm forcing myself, other than maybe if it's for like a show or something, I'm not going to push myself to do it because then it's going to take longer to get out of the rut. Because I'm just going to be frustrated with whatever I read, which isn't fair to the book or to me. And then I also like to buddy read with people. Like I mentioned, I'm kind of like buddy reading Giant Days, which actually isn't helping me push through, but usually does. That also helps. Or picking something up that you know you love to reread it, or
But
like
how
my
did you
kind of.
happen to buddy up with Crazed Cassowary? I'm
Well,
not familiar
she
with her other through the chat.
Yeah, she watched our summer reading program last year with Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met up with her in her city where she lives because I was visiting a friend there and she had some
Oh,
recommendations of where to go. I was like, well, if you want to meet up, let's meet up. And we've stayed in touch since then. So
An
shout
internet
out.
friendship turns into a real
It's
friendship.
true.
I
Yes.
love that.
I definitely consider her a friend. Yes,
That's
absolutely.
great. Shout out to Crazed Cassowary. Nice. Um, I have the I have sometimes I have I don't know if other YouTubers have this, but I always feel pressure to read and make videos, and I haven't been
Mhm.
making many because I just haven't felt well enough. But I'm on like 10 straight weeks of no pain, so I've been
Mhm.
reading a lot, and now it's just trying to get back into making more videos. So
Mm.
I feel um, I think Jake and I have talked about it before, where we sort of feel the extra pressure to make videos and to read books to make videos. And when you hit that part, you start to get um, what's the word I'm trying to pull? You start to get uh, why am I not pulling this word? You start to hold a grudge against the
Yeah.
books, and that's not. I mean, you're supposed to. I want to read books that are fun and tell people they're fun, like Secret Six or Black
Mhm.
Cat, that I was really happy with, and I wanted to make sure people knew um, that. So I think I usually give into it pretty quickly. If I'm not in the mood, I just don't. I don't
Mhm.
read. But I'm trying to catch up now, and ideally I'd like to put out two new videos a week. That seems like a reasonable goal for me, because I stream so much, because I like, this is the way I can, talk to people and
Mhm.
nice people in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, long may it continue. I appreciate that. Um, this is a good answer. I'll take breaks, Doug, and play video games and listen to music and podcasts. I will also reread my favorites. That's a good one to
Yeah.
do. Something you're going to like.
When you were talking about videos, I actually another thing I feel is sometimes you have vague interest in a character or topic or something, and then you see someone on YouTube has talked about it, like maybe top 5 of this character, a character you've been interested in exploring, and so I like to watch those, and hearing people talk about what they love gets me excited to read it, especially if it's something I haven't, um, dived into myself. So I think when you were mentioning videos, I was like watching people's videos sometimes, especially where they're just naming a bunch of books instead of talking about just one. Like, these are my top for this. That is like, "Ooh, I wanna try that." It gets you excited because I definitely feel you get stuck in the same corner of comics or of prose even as well, and so it can be fun to just also, like, jump over to a new character or, like, a new author, writer, artist line, etcetera. I think that can also reinvigorate things a bit.
Yeah, and I think those, as you said, that's what I'm going to be trying to churn out, because I think that, like, my top 5 of a certain thing, that way I can keep it. That way I can do, as you said, put out something that people are going to be interested in, but I can also recommend stuff that people might not have heard of
Yeah.
before. Um, so, like, I just did Read This, Not That, part 8 or whatever. I do those every once in a while, where I say, um, well, one example was I held up my iPad and said, "This is the newspaper. Don't read the newspaper. It's full of nothing but bad news. Instead, read Tea Dragon Society." And I gave
Mhm.
Kristen credit for it. I said, "Wouldn't you rather read Tea Dragon Society and have a nice, enchanting, wonderful fairy tale
Mm,
that just that can or can't have a message, depending on how far in deeply into it you want to read, or
mhm.
stuff like that." So I'm gonna those are easier to bang out. So I have an idea for one that I'm gonna do, um, a couple that I'm gonna do this week. Um,
Yeah, I think they're fun. I really like I know other people really like them too. I can see that in the chat.
okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good. Top 5 reasons condition very fine is just very fine. Um,
Maybe
yeah,
for his birthday, that's what you should do
for
for Omar's birthday.
well, I he thinks it's such a big deal. he claims the entire month of March. He called it Oh March. I'm like, dude, you're not an 8-year-old on the playground saying this is my birthday month. You're a grown adult man. What are you? That's my month anyway. I was born in that month before you were, you spud. Oh, did I turn you on to those, Doug? Because I know I'm a big proponent of both of those. Don't say it was somebody else for Castle in the Stars, because I was there first, and I do hold a grudge. Do you read manga? Javier wants to ask. No? Question you about?
So I used to be like Jess. I was like, I can't do it. And it was mostly because my brain, I couldn't ease into the reading because it was taking so much work to figure out the order.
Yeah.
But I think it was last year. Yeah, it was 2023. I was like, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna try, especially with series I love. And so I asked for recommendations, and I wouldn't say it's my number one. But the flow of the page is no longer the thing that will hold me back from a manga. And I will say there are some that I love. I really love Witch Hat Atelier, which is kind of like a Harry Potter-esque, like magical school book. Love. That's a great series. And I saw that we're getting a anime adaptation. I'm really excited about that.
Oh, I'll watch
And
that.
then the self-contained one that I like, because that one's still ongoing and it's already 12 volumes in English. And I know the 13th volume is out overseas, so we'll be getting that soon, is My Brother's Husband. I really liked that, and it's a self-contained. It's like 2 thicker volumes where they have this really nice omnibus big format. I've seen it at the bookstore, and I'm always like, maybe I'll get that. Those are my top 2. So it's not like I regularly read them, but I am open to recommendations, and I've read a couple of others that I've enjoyed. I've read a lot that I didn't enjoy also.
Well, I think that was the problem for me too, was I did read a lot of manga back in like the 2017, 2018 period. And not only did I struggle with the format, because that is an issue for me, but I didn't really care for the books. Now, I do like Junji Ito. I'm able to follow that, and I love how twisted it is.
I'm scared of those books, but I'm gonna read this October. I like promised Wonder Maddie, that I will do it.
Those are extremely good. And I could own those. I think I have them like on my Kindle app or something. So I would still I would read that, but they just didn't grab me, like Berserk and the other one that's printed Western style. I had no problem reading it, but it was a big deal. It came out with a deluxe a couple of years ago. I can't think of what it was called. But I read Monster, first couple books of that.
Vinland Saga? Do they just got a deluxe? Is that one?
Yeah, not Vinland Saga, but it was printed Western style. But I can't think of what it was called. James will probably be able to tell me. James, what was that book that I couldn't read? That I read and didn't dig? There it is. Blade of the Immortal. Yeah. Oh, and Rahul just got volume 12 of Witch Hat Atelier today.
Oh my gosh, it's a great volume. You're gonna like it.
The subject matter, anything witchy or occulty or anything, really appeals to me. Magic stuff. So that would have been for me. So that's why
you could watch the anime.
I was gonna say that.
I think you'll really like it. And I will say this, like Harry Potter, not to compare it to Harry Potter, but that's the cultural reference most people will know. It sort of starts out where it is very like, I mean, I think you could say it's middle grade through and through, but I guess it starts out lighter like the early Harry Potter books. And then like when you get to sort of the 7th, 6th, even some of the 5th Harry Potter book, it's actually pretty dark. Like I wouldn't have a 10-year-old or 9-year-old probably read that without an adult like talking them through it. There's a bit of a jump for me in like how serious it is. And I think Witch Hat is similar. Like there's actually some pretty dark stuff that starts to occur throughout the series. So it's sort of maturing along with the reader in the same way Harry Potter did, even if the ages of the characters are not maturing as much. And I think that's cool that that's something for another generation, especially because in this one, the main character is a girl. So that's fun to have kind of a story of a young boy going to a magical school and a young girl. So lots of variety, and I think that's cool.
Let's see. Oh, here's Richard. How you doing, Richard? Hey, Omnidog and Jessica. Hope you're both well. I think we both are. Did you enjoy
Thriving.
Superman and Lois 25th wedding anniversary? That was the deluxe, I think, that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember it. I was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We can talk about it later. Are you asking us to recommend it? Or, well, I'll just take the question at face value. Yeah, we enjoyed it. So we have been here for 45 minutes.
Yes, let's talk
But
Superman for all seasons.
I also find out that whenever something like this happens, we're going to lose like half our viewership as soon as we talk about the book. People like to talk about everything but the topic in the chat. So I'll try to figure out a way to weave in our talking about the book. But Superman for All Seasons was one of the books. And then the other one was in this, despite World's Greatest Superheroes, this was Peace on Earth, the Superman story. The thumbnail says this entire book. I did not want to go to the art director in the house and have her redo that when I realized we were just reading Peace on Earth. So it's not the whole book. It's just Peace on Earth we're going to be talking about. Yes, I saw it and was thinking of picking it up. If I recall correctly, that's the John Byrne Superman, right? The Wedding of Lois and Superman. It's over in the Superman Batman room.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah.
Okay. Good, Richard. I agree. That's why I like getting on here and just talking comics. Any comics. Manga. Okay.
You know what? Dan Jurgens.
Oh, Dan Jurgens. Okay.
And Ron Friends and Joe Rubenstein or Rubenstein. I never know how to do that.
Rubenstein. That World's Greatest Absolute is just gorgeous. Yeah, and it's also bigger, wider than other absolutes.
They're very, yeah, I have the paperback of that, but it's like magazine. Actually,
That's
recently
how they came out.
Yeah, it reminds me in the size and also some of the formatting of like the storytelling of if you recently picked up it's been several years, but the other history of the DC universe that they did, similar thing. It was kind of like this wider magazine, closer to like a Black Label size, and also was all prose, which this is also pretty much all prose.
What is
this? There's no like bubbles of people talking, etc.
Oh, yeah.
It's just narration, prose.
You're right.
Narration.
It's all those narrative bubbles or narrative panels. Yeah.
Yeah.
I collected these when they came out, and they were like big giant magazines. I collected them individually. And I mean, we can start with this one, Peace on Earth. What is it? Peace on Earth. And these are by Paul Dini and Alex Ross, who's I think that helped. These are just my thoughts. I think it helped having the realistic artwork of Alex Ross, try and put it in perspective of if there was such a thing as Superman or superheroes in this world, this is what the world would look like. This is what the people would look like. This is what Superman would look like. And I also read Wonder Woman because I want to talk to you about that in a sec. And what struck me about the Superman story, but I read a couple others too. And what struck me was that none of the stories that the reason they seem so real is because the main goal the character sets out to do actually can't be achieved. These guys
Mm-hmm.
are suffer from failure. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Justice League. Uh, what one am I forgetting? I feel like there was something else, but
It's
in all these cases,
I think the only one you're missing is there's 2 Justice League. There's, like, the Justice League one that's kinda like a mini for each person, and then
oh,
the
the
full Justice
origins,
League story at the end, yeah. The
right,
origins definitely felt well, we're not critiquing this book as a whole, but that one did feel the most unnecessary. I was like, We don't need her." People who are picking this book in particular up are not, like, new to comics, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need this
right.
recap. You could just do the characters you wanted to spotlight and then do that last one. But you're right that they all have this theme, peace on Earth being Superman's, and you're correct. Yeah, I think that's a great observation. They all are trying for something that can't be attainable and experience failure. Yeah.
Even though they're super powered, or in Batman's case, uh,
Rich.
rich and obsessed, and fairly fearless, it's uh, they can't achieve their goals, and so that kind of keeps it grounded in the real world.
Mm.
Because you think about, what if there was Superman in the world and he was actually like even if he wasn't law abiding, say he went into that dictator's land, where the dictator was in charge, even if he took it, like, let's just say he was, the idea is that Superman's going to try and for a day solve world hunger.
Yeah,
um
that's the setup of this story, if people haven't read it.
and food's used as a weapon in some countries. You can make the argument that it's used as a it's weaponized in all countries, but
Yeah.
that's a little deeper. Well, we could actually, I'll talk about whatever you want to, but the dictator, Superman knew as soon as he dropped off the food to this dictator's country, the dictator was going to keep it for himself and sell it to get money. Um, and even if Superman took out the dictator, the problem of putting in a new government or trying to keep a new government for the people stabilized and ongoing, that's way too much for even one Superman. Um, so it sort of helps the idea that if Superman did exist and he wasn't wanting to terrorize the world, if he was reasonably law abiding, even one Superman with superpowers couldn't even solve world hunger, because there's just too many variables. And people are people is the other thing.
Mhm.
People are evil and greedy. um I'm not going to say that that's everybody's motivation in this world, but it's Superman, uh just trying for one day to help people not starve. He got overwhelmed.
Mhm.
There's not only so much he could do, because once he leaves, he can't keep coming back. There's other places in the world, and that's, I know, in one thing that haunted him, some kid said, "Will you be back tomorrow?" And he knew
Mhm.
he couldn't come back.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, earlier I can't remember now because 'cause it's been minute, but the comment in the chat earlier about that this book is one of the many, there are several answers to people's complaints that Superman is not interesting because he's so powerful. And I think this has come up time and time again. So I don't want to say like this singular book, because the truth is, I would say just about every book we've read, and this will include the other book that we read, has a seed of this as well, has that as a central conundrum, that you have this person who, or this person, alien, who's like very powered, arguably overpowered, but the best stories and the best writers know that that's not like a limitation, it's a challenge to meet, and it makes him more interesting that, yes, I have all of this and still, right? So I think that that comment earlier was spot on. This is a great example, but I feel like most of the books we've read have dealt with that um, in some way. The other thing that they've all dealt with that I really liked is, and you were mentioning earlier, like some people's motivations, everybody's motivations are different. There's this great metaphor at the very beginning. It actually reminds me of something my mom would say at the beginning of this book, where we're starting on the farm, and Pa Kent is talking about planting. And why you want to spread the seeds far apart is you want to give them all space to grow, but you have to acknowledge, even though it's a lot of seeds, like some are going to really thrive, some are not going to be able to survive where they're at, but you have to give them all a chance and you have to give them all space. And I loved that metaphor because it lines up with what you said. Like some people, when you give them that space, are going to grow up in the right conditions to be like people who care for others, who do good in the world. Others, maybe their circumstances, they fell on rocks, they fell on hard times, it makes them bitter, and maybe they don't grow up to have such a great outlook, or they cause harm to others. But we have to give all of them a chance, and it's worth it. And I think that sort of parallel of humanity driving Clark and Clark driving humanity is very like apparent in this book and in For All Seasons as well. Like that Ma and Pa Kent as humans inspire him, and then he
Right.
wants to inspire others. And it's like Ma and Pa Kent are human. And so it is like this circle, which I think is just so interesting.
And that's, I think, uh, the central part of Clark's upbringing is what has always, from the very beginning, has always informed him as a character. He he's not human. He is an alien, but the human upbringing he had was so nurturing
Mhm.
that he wants to use his gifts to help because that's how he was raised, just in general, to be a good person. And those core values of Ma and Pa Kent. And that's and people have, I mean, there's Red Sun by Mark Miller, which I
Mhm.
thought was, did we read that,
We did
right?
that one. Mhm.
Yeah. Which shows what would happen if he was brought up in another, in a different system.
Context. Yeah.
Yeah, different context. And then Mark Wade, who wrote my favorite book ever, which is Irredeemable,
Mhm.
um, the Plutonian is like Superman, and then he decides to go evil, and it's much more than that, because it turns out not only is he an alien, but Plutonian didn't even know about his alien origin, and so it
Mhm.
becomes a much deeper uh, meditation on what if an alien, came to Earth and then decided to use his powers for selfish gains. But that I think that's what, maybe that's the criticism. People feel like they call him the big blue Boy Scout.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I think that's part of the charm, and what makes him work is that he does have that solid upbringing of just caring, and
Mhm.
which I think makes him a more interesting character than if he was just, like Lex in For All Seasons, who's selfishly motivated. But to me, I mean, even Batman calls him the Boy Scout. So in various iterations of their friendship, but I feel like that's a strength of him, is that he is trying to do good
Mhm.
because of
Yeah.
his upbringing.
Yeah, one thing that's really struck me, there's this page in this one, because, a good upbringing is one thing. And I also want to talk about empathy because I think I see often when I talk to people about different issues that if they haven't experienced it themselves, some people struggle still to empathize with something. Like they almost can't even try to put themselves in the other person's shoes. And I was thinking about Clark as like a very empathetic character throughout every story we've read for the most part. Um, and there's this one part of this book where basically at the beginning of the book, he's like dropping off a Christmas tree, which was very cute.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Rockefeller Plaza type Christmas tree to Metropolis. And he hears someone cry out for help. And it's this woman who has experienced severe hunger. She's very malnourished, and he takes her to a local rescue center, which was really lovely because he compliments the doctor that works there and talks about like how she's a hero to him. And again, just love that. But later he is talking about how there's so many people like her. And so there's this page, you might be able to find it, Jess, where he's looking at pictures of starvation across the world. So he's seen it in this microcosm in his own city, and he knows that that exists everywhere. Yes, this page. And so he's looking at like global hunger, which is like one of the biggest still one of the biggest struggles we have across the world. And he's looking at the photos and he says he stares for a long time, and it's ironic. He says, I don't need to eat. I will never know hunger. I don't know what victims of starvation feel. I can't decide if this is a blessing or a curse, but it still motivates him. Like he himself cannot even experience hunger. So he literally can't relate in that sense, but he still experiences empathy. And I think that's just so important for us to remember in this day and age, just because I do think it's so common. I just hear people express an inability to empathize because they've never experienced something like that, or they've experienced something different. And so this other person's reality couldn't possibly be true because that hasn't been my experience. And so if this
Right.
guy who doesn't experience hunger is like so motivated to research it, think about it, act on it, do something about it, like we should all be able to do the same, even in small ways, which obviously he gets to at the end of the book. So that just really struck me this time around, even though this is only my second time reading it. Um, I just was really struck by that page. I actually had never thought about that with Clark, to be honest with you. Like,
I
yeah, you, I guess, never experienced this.
and that's actually the first time I can recall that actually being addressed.
Hmm.
I I mean, I'm not sure I agree that that's I if he I don't know that that's something that's really part of Superman lore, that he doesn't eat and is never hungry. How does he grow? How does he grow up? How does his body, I mean, the power from the sun can only do so much. I would think he needs some kind of nutrition. That's the first time I ever heard that, but for purposes of the story, it does help set up the empathy
Mhm.
that you're talking about, which is the more important part of the story.
Well, and there are other things in main canon. For example, he's not going to experience pain in the same way that we experience physical pain. He's going to be immune to so much, or like he's largely immune if he got shot at, for example. Nothing's really going to happen to him, right? So there are other things in main canon that could take the place of this metaphor here. Still, the idea being like, I want to prevent this from happening. I'm empathizing with you, right? Even though I never experienced it myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I don't know that it would be like canon, but I do think there are other things that could take the place of it where it represents in this story.
Doug says solar radiation is his food. And we did see in Flashpoint that
That's true. Yeah.
they did keep him locked up away from the sun, and he was pretty much wasting away. Uh, he was weak. He couldn't even move. So
Hmm.
I guess I do see that. But here's Summoners saying something good. Superman's strength inspires, symbolizes hope and resilience against any odds.
Hmm.
Symbolizes hope. I think that's the thing that's really, I think, become what Superman stands for now, is his symbolizing hope. Um,
Yeah. And in
um,
this story, like that's what he's trying to do because he knows, as you said, that scene with the little boy, he knows he can't come back, but that was never his goal. His goal initially was like, if I do this, I could show people what's possible. And that's what hope is. Hope is saying there's a chance that it could be different. right? And I think
Right.
there are problems. Global hunger is a great example. There are many problems I'm sure we could all think of that feel just totally unsolvable or hopeless. And then you do see someone taking action. And even in the face of maybe logically knowing it's not going to do anything, you then take action yourself. Because honestly, I think, from in my opinion, doing that, having that hope to change something and doing something about it, even if you kind of know it probably won't work, that does something to you as a person as well. Like, I think it keeps you going and helps you grow. And that's also important, even if the big problem is far from being solved.
Yeah, and I think that was the idea. I will show the world that for
Hmm.
one day I can do this, but hopefully other people will see this and take inspiration from it. Uh,
Yeah.
so I thought, I loved it. I love the stories. It brings in. I'm sorry. I love the story.
Hmm.
It does bring in the fact that he can't solve everything, and so all of the stories in this book, because they do deal with every single hero trying to solve a problem and failing, but they're also hoping to inspire others, but they end up generally failing in what they set out to do, which um, leads me to my next question. And I'm only interested in this because I'm always interested in somebody else's perspective. I and I my first the first time I read a book, I've always said I'm not a deep diver. I don't
Hmm.
dive into I sort of let the book wash over me and just go, okay, it appealed to me or didn't appeal to me for these reasons. Um, so I was interested in why you hated Wonder Woman if you wanted to get into it, because
Yeah.
I specifically read it after you said that, and I thought, I want to read it so I know what's happening in it, but I'm wondering why Jessica didn't care for it. Um,
Sure.
so in the book, um, we're bouncing out of Superman for a sec and going into Wonder Woman. Where well this image really struck a chord with me because she's in a, I guess, Muslim country where her appearance not only frightens them but offends them because she's scantily clad, and they start throwing rocks at her. She gets lots of rocks thrown at her, um, and it was she wanted, well, her goal was to try and be a goodwill ambassador to all these various places, and it kind of backfired on her. um, she deals with her status as sort of a god on Earth and being a ambassador from Themyscira. Um, like here, for example, she's in an Asian country where she saves a woman from being run over by a tank that's about to run over her, and she tries to say to the person, "You're okay. I'm a woman just like you. Everything's okay. I helped you." But it frightens the woman. She says, "You're not like me at all," and she runs away from her. And so Diana is sort of getting her eyes open to how the world perceives her. So what was it that didn't appeal to you in that book, in that story? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, just for perspective, if it was out of 5, it's like a 2.5 stars, so like a 50% out of 100 for me. In my opinion, and I wanna first acknowledge that, of course, everyone has their own interpretation of characters, everyone has their own sort of version, and I've certainly experienced where characters I love are in done by a different writer, etcetera, and I'm like, "Ah, this isn't at all this person." But then
Yeah.
somebody else reads it and they're like, "This is my version of X person." So I want to acknowledge that, obviously. And the art is amazing throughout this book, so that's a 5 stars across the board, pretty much. My personal problem is, in my opinion, it did not capture the character of Diana at all. I think for me, it was like a real miss in a pretty big way because when she starts out, and I did not reread that one in full, I skimmed back through it, but I looked back at my notes on Goodreads, and hers is called Truth. They're all dealing with different ones, which was interesting because
Spirit of truth.
yeah, and I don't believe that one was weird to me. Like Peace on Earth made sense. These other ones made sense. That one I also thought was like, I don't quite get why it's truth. But at the beginning, she's having trouble relating to other people, which I think is like definitely not a characteristic I associate with Diana. I consider her fairly empathetic and understanding overall. I think, especially not being from our sort of, well, our cultural context, for example.
Mhm.
And I think to me, she lacked the story itself lacked a lot of nuance. I thought she came across as very culturally ignorant, like in a ham-fisted way. We are all, and I work in immigration, so I'm around people from all kinds of places all the time, and we have this thing called cultural humility versus cultural competency. It used to be people say I'm culturally competent, and that sort of sends the message that to be culturally competent, you're supposed to know a lot about another person's culture. And that is not a bad thing necessarily. If you're going to be maybe like hanging out with someone who's from a totally different place, maybe you do some research ahead of time. Absolutely. But actually, what they teach you now is to be culturally humble, which is basically don't make assumptions, lead with empathy, like be curious, but be respectful. And don't assume that because you've read XYZ about this place, it applies to that person. And in my opinion, and I think they were maybe limited in their own understanding of this, the on the writing team, etc. Like I think that they went into this a bit ham-fisted and came
Mm.
across very culturally ignorant, in my
And
opinion. I
and
think
not
these
culturally humble at all.
not at all. They not only made assumptions about all of these places, but they kind of ran headlong into it because they made Diana this character that is going to have like clash, you know what I'm saying? And again, I don't even think she's a character that would respond to someone so different in the ways that she does. And I just didn't like those portrayals. And I'm not saying that the truths in each of these cultures that she's kind of having this clash with don't exist. I'm not saying that. But I
Mhm.
am saying like it's weird to me that her journey is to find essentially cultural humility through empathy. That's really what she comes to, you know, get to at the end. First off, I don't think that would be Diana's core struggle. We just talked about Clark's core struggle, and that made sense for him for Superman. Batman's also does, although we're not going to go into it. And Shazam's does as well. Hers to me doesn't line up at all with who I know her to be, and particularly when you're dealing with women in these cultures, and several of which are not the majority voices in like policy making, etc. At times, it almost felt like there was no recognition that like the women have agency still and are still like subjected to their governments. Like you have to hold both in contention. You can't make someone seem like a total victim or a total villain. That's just not the truth any of us live. And I don't know, it was just like some weird choices were made for me. So it rubbed me the absolute wrong way. I loved the art, but that's about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy that I didn't rate it lower. But again, like
You can go
totally
back
people
and
who love
re-rate
it,
it if you
great.
want.
No, I'm not gonna reread the story, I
No,
don't
I said
think.
you can re-rate it.
Yeah, I could, but I would want to reread it if I did that.
Oh, okay. Well, see, now that I think is interesting. That I appreciate uh, what you're saying because I didn't pick up on how out of character it was for her and how important it was. And I think since you deal with it on a daily basis with your job, you would know more about um, different cultures and how to approach people from different cultures than I would, since I don't.
Yeah, and there's no one size fits all, and
Right.
that's why I think if you aren't someone who has lived experience yourself, maybe you moved to another country or maybe just are in that world a lot, maybe it's not the thing you tackle like headlong in such a short format. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe you
Yeah.
go a different angle. And
Right.
that's absolutely no shade to people who like this. You know, there's no totally right or totally wrong. This is just my experience. I think it wasn't handled well.
Okay, good. I appreciate that.
Hmm. But
Um,
all the other ones in this book are pretty good, so I would recommend it overall. Absolutely.
yeah, and as you said, um, somebody else may vibe with it. That's the
Absolutely.
same with all comics. Uh, Somebody may vibe with it just because you didn't doesn't mean somebody else won't. But I always encourage difference of opinions here because um, I as because I want to get a general discussion going about comics, and I want people to know they can have differing opinions as long as
Yeah.
they're respectful with no hate in them. I welcome all opinions. So
Oh yeah.
that's why I wanted to hear what yours was.
I
Be-
I I want to add too. I just because I want to shout them out. I saw several people when I rated it on Goodreads after I initially read it. There were multiple people who gave it 5 stars and talked about how this is the first Wonder Woman book that worked for them. And that
mm,
is a great illustration of what you said. Because my reaction to that was not let me leave a negative comment. I was like, I'm really glad someone loved this and now they have an interest in the character. And that's genuinely how I felt. So I don't understand the bringing people down thing. I absolutely agree with you. I'm so glad it was a 5 stars for someone and that they're going to read more Wonder Woman. That's just good all around for me.
yeah, constructive discussion.
Yes.
Just just respectful discussion too. I want to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's viewpoints are given the respect as long as they're not people need to be uh okay I take that back. I'm not going to say what people need to be. But in the Facebook group for omnibus collectors that I used to be a mod on, this was last year, and somebody said, and this was right after I had said it was already going to be my book of the year, was Superman Space Age.
Mm.
And somebody asked, is this book any good? And I had just made the video um, about how great I thought it was and for
Hmm.
the following reasons. And somebody that positions themselves as a bit of a Superman expert says this book's not even in my top 25. But it
Hmm.
was blah 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 blah. And I normally don't post in that group anymore. I'm really there to find out what the solicits are upcoming,
Hmm.
because I don't have a way besides comicreleases.com. I don't have a way of knowing what's being announced. Um, so that's why I like to be in there. But I felt like that since that was the leading answer, I needed to go in there and say why I thought it was a good book.
Hmm.
And I still feel like the kind of the person that posits themselves as the Superman expert, I still don't think they are willing to accept anybody else's opinion but
Mm.
theirs.
Yeah.
And it just because his was so strikingly negative, I
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that there was a positive,
Sure.
especially about that book because I love that book so much.
Hmm.
But I didn't. I tried not to let my personal love for it, but come through in the comment. I wanted to make sure that there were reasons, what the reasons were that I thought so highly of it, and I felt like that book emotionally struck some very it struck a nerve with me in a number of cases the way it was set up. And I don't know, I was really I really wanted to come to its defense because I felt like the original answer
Mm.
just wasn't even willing to acknowledge anything but their opinion. It's not as bad as the gatekeeping message
Mm.
that I sent you that
Oh my
Jake got.
gosh. That had me like, that had me fired up. I hate that. I hate
I
it.
That's what I kind of sent it to. I didn't send it to you to make you upset, but to
No,
just
no, no.
I
Yeah.
knew you'd but I knew you'd feel the same way I did. this was Jake from the Brave and the Boys. He now I can't even remember what the topic was. It was about Superman.
It was
Um,
like, oh, I don't have my phone near me, but it was something to the
wait,
effect of whether you would recommend something as someone's first read. Like someone had recommended, like, oh, this is a good gateway book or initial book, and then they were like vehemently disagreeing, but in the most pretentious and alienating way you could possibly disagree with someone, in my
yeah,
opinion.
it was super gatekeeping.
It was brutal.
Yeah, it was arrogance to the arrogant and dismissive. This guy's response, um,
Dismissive. Yeah, that's a really good word for it,
it was
actually.
it was dismissive to the fact that anybody could have any opinions other than their own, which I think is, in the comics world, is a bad trait to have, because you won't get exposed to other things that might be really good to read if you only think your opinion is the one that counts. And of course, then that bleeds out into reality, which I always hate talking about. If you only think your opinion is the only one that matters, you're not going to you're not going to it's not healthy. Is the
Mhm.
only way I can say it. If you think your opinion is the only thing that matters, then it's not a healthy environment. And I hate using this word because it gets thrown around so much. I'll look in a thesaurus to see what else I can use besides this word, but it
Mm.
is toxic.
Mhm.
I know that's a buzzword for, uh, you know, but it's poisonous. Okay, instead of toxic, I'll use poisonous. It's a poisonous. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
instead of letting new experiences, new ideas, new information, instead of letting that nourish and go through you and filter properly so that you can be a more informed person or a person who is coming up with solutions to problems, you're just feeding off your own stuff over and over again, which it doesn't help you grow at the very least. If not, maybe has you regress in some ways.
Yeah, right. Personal growth, there's absolutely no personal growth. And yeah. Um, Thank you, Freddie. I just saw that. No, I'm okay. Thank you, though. I appreciate your looking out for me. It's the weird world of eerie publications. It does look cool, but I don't comic gore. Well, wait, maybe I should. This does look kind of interesting. The weird world of eerie publications, comic gore that warped millions of young minds, including my own. I read that stuff growing up. Can you show me some of the interior, Freddie? Where did you find that? Um, Booster, I will on the Facebook group type in I don't know, Superman Space Age. And if you it was a long time. It was last year, probably around this time.
Mm.
So it's over a year old. Um, yes, that's the definition of antisocial behavior. Yeah, I'm antisocial in the way that I don't like crowds or people, too many people in general, but I don't have antisocial behavior where I'm selfish to the point of ignoring everybody else's opinion. I'm aware that we all perceive things differently. Oh, you're parking. No, don't worry about it, Freddie. I'm okay. Thank you very much for looking out for me, though. I appreciate it. Um, uh, I I'll talk to you in our Discord about finding it, Booster. Booster and Kane, my most active Discorders. I appreciate them. Doc says that's like an evergreen show on Very Fine where the panelists trash my beloved books. Reminds me why I watch your channel. Well, I know that's tongue in cheek because I'm on a lot of those
Yeah.
evergreen shows, and the purpose is for us to. We're not trashing the books. We're trying to trash the other person. So, and while it seems like
Projection.
it seems like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth now, but those are purely for entertainment. it's the entertainment value of those is why we trash talk on those. You won't find that on my channel, but you will. But it's part of the fun we have. Everybody there, especially Peter. Peter and I love going at each other, hammer and tong. But he's one of my closest friends. I think he and Omar are probably two of my closest friends in the YouTube world. And so, that's men's love language, is to trash talk each other.
Mhm.
So, but but those are purely on entertainment, Doc. So you may actually be aware of that, and you're being sarcastic, which I see you could be being sarcastic, but
I
it's the
think so.
internet, so I'm not sure. I feel like you probably are, but I don't pay much attention to those stop liking what I don't like, folks. That's why I won't. That's why I see some books are trash because someone might like it. I may tease LOL, but it's also subjective. Yeah. Um. Oh, you found it? Oh, okay.
Have fun.
Oh, here's Ilan. I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Yes, hello.
Oh, well, thank you. Um, I do like looking at myself in the mirror, though. I will say that I'm always the most attractive person in the room when I'm by myself.
But you know what could elevate it? A mullet.
Rocking a
pony and
mullet.
bangs.
That was a good transition. I'll give you that. Also, let me just give a quick shout out to Organic Price Books, where you can use my code Omnidog, $2 off, 5% off shipping 4 more books together. Omnidog sit. And yes, I use my own code to save 5% because when you add 4 Omnis up together, it's 5%'s a lot to save.
It's true.
I know I do it just for you, Kane. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what would you give Superman Peace on Earth out of 5?
That is a fair question. I would give it a 5 out of 5. I thought, first of all, there are people who, I was going to say you can't argue with the art, but there are people out there I'm finding who don't like Alex Ross's art. And of course that is subjective. So I get it. But I love the art because it grounds it in reality and makes it more real. And I thought that the writing made it more real, that, even if he solves it for one day, and tries to inspire people, there's only so much he can do. Which actually leads into Superman for All Seasons, because that's one of the themes in that is what can one man do, sort of, and how he always is feeling he could have done more, but we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, it felt, the art grounded it in reality, and the story, I think I already said what I was going to say, but anything that anything that reminds me, that leans heavily into Clark's humanity, even though he's an alien, even something that leans into that, and then he realizes what his limits are, even though he's Superman. Anything that leans into what his limits are, and not because of kryptonite, but what his limits are just in general because of the situation. I loved it. I thought it did a lot for me. I enjoyed it a lot.
You know what's so interesting? I didn't say this earlier, but you just repeated it, so it reminded me. You loved the art because you thought it grounded the story, which I don't disagree with, but I loved Alex Ross's art in this because I think it's so mythological. I always think it works best with like Kingdom, is it Kingdom Come? Yeah, the one
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. Like, that's such a, like, grand almost mythical big god story. And so that's where I think his art works best. And I struggled with the prose style in the other history of the DC universe a lot. And I've been thinking about why this worked for me and that didn't. And there are a couple of other differences, but I think one of the main ones is the storytelling in this with the central theme and the big conflicts feels mythological. So it's almost like that seems the opposite of what you said, like grounded,
Mm-hmm.
which again, I don't disagree with. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. It makes it more real, especially a problem like world hunger. But it's just interesting that we both loved it kind of for different reasons as far as matching to the story. But I totally agree with that. I would give it a 4.75 out of 5. And my one quibble, we didn't talk about it and I won't dwell on
Oh,
it really,
sure.
is I thought it was interesting that at the beginning that Clark acknowledges that certainly there are times you fail because of your own personal shortcomings. Absolutely. But that the whole story shows that a lot of people are trapped in the systems and by the systems that they're born into. And so it was interesting to me that he quoted the like, if you teach a man to fish, which I do think has its place. And he does follow up with asking us all to share our knowledge, to share our resources. But the teach a man to fish is just interesting because sometimes you hear that thrown in a different direction because
Mm.
some men don't have the pole. You know what I mean? Like some men don't live by the water. They have barriers.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah.
just a matter of here and then you can do it for yourself. Like you also are part of a system that you're in. So I it was like such a minor thing, but it did take me out of it for a second. And again, they do ad at the end about like sharing resources, etc. But I just didn't love that. I wish we actually went back harder on the like seed metaphor with pocket
Oh,
and had it be like symmetrical. That would have been like 5 stars for sure. But yeah, I would give it like almost a 5. And it's definitely one I would recommend more to people. Cause like I said, this is the first year I read it thanks to Freddie. And I see myself rereading this one a lot.
okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate your opinion, as I always appreciate opinions giving, even if they differ. Hondo's here. The 2 Jesses is better than the 3 Jokers. Well, you're going to have
Oh.
to do a little bit better than that because the 3 Jokers, you're comparing us to the 3 Jokers. I appreciate your attempt at a compliment. Uh, but the 3 Jokers,
Are you saying the bar is on the floor? Is that what you're
yeah, the
saying?
bar, we just stepped over the bar. We just rolled over it. So, but Hondo's a good buddy of mine. So I know what he was doing. I'm speaking the love language of men giving each other shit. So there we go.
Listen, women jab each other too. I don't know if you know this, Jess. Like a lot. We do the same thing.
You and I do?
No,
Or,
women. They joke.
women
They
do?
joke with each other too. We don't necessarily always call it trash talk unless it's sports, but we jab at each other for fun. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
good.
that's just a universal thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Okay, good. Um, Elon's here. When are you booking me for the TV show? The show. Are you still? I'm happy to have you on, Elon, because people want to have you on. But I felt like you thought you might be limited in your comic knowledge since you hadn't been in the hobby that long. Do you still feel like that would be a drawback? Um, Also, Batter Days is at 8, so isn't that like 2 in the morning for you? Which for some of my viewers, that's just when their day's getting going, so it may not be an issue. But yeah, hit me up in the Discord, Elon. I'm happy to have you on.
Would
Do
watch 10 out of
you
10.
would watch Elon on?
Alanis was one of my favorite summer reading program viewers. Always came with the commentary. Love it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Uh, Elon. I like Superman Space Age, but admittedly not an expert at anything except maybe cleaning up after animals. You are a saint, Doug, and everyone knows you are a saint. And you don't have to be an expert at anything. I mean, that's the idea, is that comics are for everyone, and there is no one person that's an expert. Just because I've been reading comics for almost, oh my God, 60 years now. Whoa, my God, how did that happen? Doesn't make me any more of an expert than anybody else. I want everybody to enjoy comics. So the only gatekeeping I'm going to be doing is on gatekeepers themselves. Jess is not a narcissist. He is the complete opposite. What's the opposite of a narcissist? I know you mean this is sorry?
Humble, probably.
Oh, well, yeah. I acknowledge my shortcomings all the time on this show, in life, all over the place. Yeah. I am always challenging myself to do better. But thank you, Kane. I appreciate that compliment. Oh, I know, but you have good opinions on the Evergreen books. Do I, though? I've never gotten more than one book through on all those Evergreen shows. I really shot myself in the foot last time about Batman because I was like, I picked choices that I couldn't defend at the end because I thought the audience would like those more. And I was trying to appeal to the greater audience. Like, this is a book, like it was Batman Nightfall. And I hate that book, but I was like, I'm giving in. This is what the people want. I don't even think it got voted through. And I've never gone 3 for 3. I've never picked 2 out of 3. So the next Evergreen show, and that Batman show, I could have gone 3 for 3 if I had followed my heart.
You pick a lot of underrated ones, and I think that's I remember one you were talking about. I was like, no one talks about this book. It's not even one I would pick, but I was like, I love that Jess is fighting for this. It was the question, the Books of Blood, the Renee Montoya. Is it 5 Books of Blood? And I was like, what a random book, but it does go out of print. So like, yeah, I see his point. Point well taken.
Well, and those thank you. And that and see, I think on those Evergreen shows, I might be doing too much thinking because the ground always shifts during the discussion. I'm like, well, it's out of print and it should be accessible to more people. And then they're like, well, it didn't sell very much. And I'm like, oh, is sales supposed to be what we're talking about? And then I'll bring up sales. Well, sales doesn't matter now. And I mean, this is in the same show. So I don't know
I think, like Anakin, you need to gain the higher ground in your fight. You need to float on your little lock and lava battle it out. I think you can do it.
I definitely am going to follow my heart from now on. Let's see. Okay, good. Doug's has a dog that's doing better now.
Oh, good.
Rocky's on her last week of quarantine. She was quite sick. And when she gets together with Rudy, that dog is a fighter. 2 Jesses are better than a Batter Days with Freddie. Can you believe he showed off singles? Yuck. We both showed off singles. And you don't have to be self-deprecating. We all think Freddie's a good person. So
Freddie rules. It's a universal truth. Earlier, there was a question about what ties humanity together. It's James linking things in the chat and Freddie's positivity. That's what's holding us all together.
Jess, I don't have a live. Thank you, James. I was just thinking about this. The problem is it comes at the end of the month all the time. And for some reason, I have trouble fitting it in. I don't know that June's going to have a live collected editions. We'll at least do a recorded one, but I have trouble fitting it in also because Webhead has, his own family and stuff, and he's 3 hours different than I am. So it's hard for us to get together for a live one, but I'll try. And I appreciate the fact that you like it. And Next Imaginaut has a 2-parter that I think we can look at. Kane, 1 out of 2. I'm still compiling more evidence, but my theory is that Jess is in fact like Peter Falk in Wings of Desire, which I've seen, an ex-angel who chose to eschew his divinity to join humanity for his love of people, and comics, but either also had to forget that past part of his bargain or is still holding that card close to his chest like Falk does until the end of the film.
I have never seen this movie. I'm looking up images of it.
It's really interesting. It was a
Is it?
Wim Wenders film from 1988,
87,
87,
it looks like. Yeah.
87. Yeah,
Okay.
it's it's definitely worth watching. It's
Okay.
I think Next Imagina would probably say it's considered a classic, maybe among the movie going Illuminati. No, not Illuminati. Illiterati. That doesn't sound right. I'm struggling for words today. People who know a lot about movies. I think they consider Wings of Desire to be a classic. Thank you for thinking I'm an ex-angel. I definitely want. Go ahead.
This is Columbo? Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
still
Peter
processing.
Falk's in it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. But he's the angel or he's just in the movie too?
He's the ex-angel.
Oh.
Angels are there watching over, like
Okay.
like they may have a particular person
Like in
they're
It's a Wonderful
shadowing.
Life. Yeah.
Sorry.
In It's a Wonderful Life. Like
Yes.
Clarence is watching
Yeah.
over George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot about the angel who's watching over a particular person. But Peter Falk is an ex-angel who became human because he thinks humanity is interesting and loves people and wants to hang around him. And there's a scene where he's Peter Falk is saying, as the ex-angel, I can feel you around me, because the angel's invisible. He's saying, I can feel you around me. I can, words to the effect that you're fascinated with humans or whatever. And he says why he went, why he became human. And what he's standing in line at maybe like a trailer that's serving coffee. And he's like, coffee is good. Cigarettes are good. And he's smoking and drinking coffee. And he's like, these are it was those simple things that made him want to be human. And I'm sure Next Imagine I can give it a deeper dive than I did, but he was showing, he was trying to tell the angel why he had become human in it. And it's pretty darn interesting.
Yeah, I just saw it's on HBO Max, so I'll definitely watch it.
Oh, yeah. I'd be interested in what you think of it.
For sure, I'll text you.
I'd watch Elan. I'm afraid of a Cycle appearance. Cycle is not ever going to appear because I never want to pull the curtain back on the wizard. If that will rob him of his power. As soon as we see his humanity, he won't be as interesting. He needs to stay hidden. You'd watch Elan, yeah.
Of course.
I haven't read 3 Jokers, but my one joke failed. No, it's fine, Hondo.
You're doing good if you haven't read it. No, just kidding. See? Jab, but in love.
Comics are for all of us. Keep on giving us the great content, buddy. Thank you, Hondo, who is so lucky he gets to live in the Bay Area, and it breaks my heart every time he shows me where he's going in the Bay Area, because I'm not there. We wouldn't be going through a heat wave in the Bay Area. We'd be having fun in the fog. Jess, you are doing okay with the Evergreen Show. You've chosen 19 books and 9 of them made the final cut. Oh, okay. Thank you, James. I appreciate that.
With the stats, it's almost 50%. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's over 50%. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Kane throwing me the compliment. Thank you, Kane. Here, I'll give you hearts. Thank you. Very nice of you. Always vote your heart. Okay, I will. I'll continue doing that. Here's my hearts for you. Ilana's the top man. I would set up a whole viewing party for an Ilana appearance. Okay. The Singles Batterday show was dope. We had fun showing our singles off. I need Ilan on my TV. It is only by my good graces that any show isn't derailed. It's my good graces because I'm the one that highlights you. Yes, a lot of love for Elon. Ay caramba, I just scored a great Bart Simpson's t-shirt.
What store were you in? Such random stuff in there.
I think he's out shopping, it sounds
Okay,
like.
in a mall,
Various
maybe.
places. Next to Maginot is like the community's Dylan Thomas. I don't know who that is, but good. I'm glad they're a Hidge Wings of Desire fan. Wasn't there an American remake of Wings of Desire? I think Goo Goo Dolls had their big song as part of the remake soundtrack. I have no idea.
Okay. So later, if you'll highlight the Meg Ryan comment, I think this is it. When you started talking about this film, I have this memory of my mom watching a movie on TV, and Nick Cage and Meg Ryan, I think, were in it, and one of them was like an angel that was on Earth that was like temporarily human. I think they maybe fell in love. I cannot remember. And so that's what I thought you were saying. And then when you said Peter Falk, my brain was like Columbo, but it wasn't registering because I had this in my mind. So that's why I was kind of looking up images. I don't know if it's a remake or not, obviously, because I have no memory really of the one I did in passing see. And then the other one's totally new to me. But yeah, I'm curious too.
He's got on his trench coat and stuff too. He's basically appearing as Columbo.
He's basically Columbo. He was like, coffee is good. Cigarettes are good. Trench coat solving murder, good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue with him on that point. No. I love that show. It was called City of Angels.
Okay.
City of Angels is the Cage movie. It's not a remake. Okay.
That's probably for the best for me because I remember it being a little cringy, but I was also like 10, so I was probably cringing at a lot.
I just got a message from Webhead. Wow, weird. Speak his name. Friday record, Sunday live show next week. See, that's what's going to be tough is my wife has invited people into our house for brunch. And I had to move the book club with Larry to 6 p.m. But I guess that book club is usually only 45 minutes, so I could probably do it at 8 p.m. on Sunday. I could probably do that. So, James, we'll see. We'll see if we can make your dreams come true. Earth-1, Earth-2, Jess, I recently had the good luck to rewatch it theatrically and will affirm that, to me at least, it's one of Wender's few and possibly only true masterpiece. There's also one scene in it that perfectly elucidates Jess's infatuation with Black Cat. But I'm saving that observation for a future snipe at Omar on Jess's behalf.
There's a lot of teasing in that comment.
Get that ammo in the holster there, buddy. Good. Keep that ammo fresh. He's at Marshall's now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, people. I was trying to buy a gift for my sound mentor because it's her graduation and I got distracted.
Aw.
They're like our best friends. They're coming over for brunch and they're actually really great. So I always make the joke, but they are very nice people. City of Angels is technically a loose remake of Wings of Desire. Okay.
Interesting.
Thank you, Chris. I think no, I'm not going to highlight that one, James, but sure. I meant the dream of me and Webhead. So Superman for All Seasons is by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, but Bjarne Hansen does the colors. Sorry?
I said,
Bjarne Hansen does the colors for this, and that is a main feature of this book. And what they have, this is one of those things where it's really good. The back matter shows what Tim Sale's stuff looked like before the colors were added. And the colors are astounding in this book. I have this highlighted for another reason. But
The
yeah,
sunset page is good. A good one
let
to
me
show.
let me highlight myself real quick, just so I can show you. This is a reason to have it in absolute. That's to me. That's why you want an absolute, is because you want the art in oversized format. The colors are tremendous, and what Tim Sale paints or draws on then gets watercolored by Bjarne Hansen. And the colors are just tremendous in this book. Also, I didn't know that this is where the iconic, where he gets wow, cool costume, thanks. My mom made it for me. I saw that in the Superman and Lois show, and I was unaware. I had forgotten that that's where that line had originated. I'm not the hugest Tim Sale fan of. I'm not the hugest Tim Sale fan on record. I don't. I get why he painted or drew Clark the way he did, as sort of the big farm boy. I think Frank quietly pulled the clumsy oaf thing together a little bit better in All-Star Superman. This is the picture. Yeah, this is what you wanted me to show. This is the sunset.
Yeah, I love that. I would have that page like as art in my home. I love it so much. I love everything it means. I love the colors. I love the perspective of like Clark looking at Pa Kent, looking at the sunset. It's just like, oh, it's one of my favorite pages.
Yeah, and he's saying, "Do you ever get tired of looking at that?" No, never have. Guess I never. Guess I never will. Yeah, and this is a pretty. I can see why. I think I agree that I would have this anywhere up in my house too.
One interesting note on the art, in the like dedication page, it's like there's some early pages with scrapbook pictures
Oh, right.
that aren't in the story but are kind of like on the farm pictures. There's dedications throughout, and part of Tim Sale's dedication is for Norman Rockwell and his love for a vision of Americana that resonates through its limitations. And I
Right.
had the privilege this past summer, maybe it was, maybe last spring, to go to the Norman Rockwell Museum, and I actually learned a lot about him as a person and also his politics. And it's interesting, and I won't go too in depth, but you know, he's known for these like very Americana scenes, and people who see something as like a quick snapshot, I think make assumptions about him that like things were perfect in the 50s or the 40s. But actually, he really did a lot evolving throughout time and pushed back against the, is it Saturday Evening Post or Sunday Evening Post?
Saturday.
Really pushed back against them a couple of times to try to be a bit more inclusive. And in fact, I didn't even realize it, but put two and two together until this read, even though I've read this book several times, that one of the scenes where they're having dinner is actually like an homage to it's actually a campaign he did to raise money through war bonds. He did this freedom from want, freedom, basically a freedom series, the 4 freedoms, I think is what it was called. And the freedom from want is the sort of like family sitting down, almost like a Thanksgiving style
turkey
meal.
dinner. Yeah.
And actually it's homage twice. So there's like this early one here. And then later Clark is serving at a later meal at the end. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let me highlight myself. Here, this is the homage. The
Yeah,
first
it's called
one.
Yeah, Freedom from Want, if you want to look it up, if you're unfamiliar, is the name of the piece that it's paying homage to, which I thought was just cool. And I think there was something about the coloring, particularly, that's not exactly Rockwell-esque, but that sort of watercolor, faded, like lived in feel, I think it's a different version of that, but it's the same idea. Like it's a worn thing. And so it feels nostalgic, even if it isn't something you like personally experienced. I thought that was just really neat. And it really came through for me in this read, I think, because of going to that museum and making some of those connections throughout.
Where is that museum?
It
In
was
Pennsylvania?
in Stockbridge, I believe, Vermont. Let me see.
Vermont.
Yeah, my parents are in New England.
Oh, they are.
So I
Okay.
was visiting them and we went Stockbridge, yeah, Vermont. Yeah.
Is Stockbridge where okay, wait. Let me write this down cuz I'd like this. We get up there. Patty's
Oh yeah.
from New England, so we get up there a lot.
Oh, the town is really cute, and actually, he has this really famous you'll know it if you see it, but it's this town at Christmas time, and so it's like a main street at Christmas and the snow, and there's a Christmas tree in the top window of a middle building. You'd know it if you saw the picture, and their downtown still looks exactly like that because he was painting his downtown in Stockbridge.
Oh.
It's very cool, and it's a very small museum, but it was one that was really well done. It provided so much additional information and family photos. And the property it's on is very beautiful, especially in the fall. So I would highly recommend stopping through if you're close enough.
Okay. We will be, and I will find out where it is in relation to where we're going to be. The big field trip we took last time we went to Vermont was the Ben and Jerry's
Oh,
manufacturing.
did you taste their tester ice creams? That's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know if they opened it back up since the pandemic or not.
We were there in September of 2022.
Hmm.
So we did take a tour and we
Hmm.
did taste, I think strawberry was the flavor.
Okay. Sometimes they have like 2 or 3 that they're testing out, and so you can like eat
Oh,
the sample and then rate it and write a comment. I
oh,
don't
we
know if they
didn't
still
get
do that.
that.
That was cool experience. One of the ones I tasted wasn't very good though, we'll say.
Well, they always, for us, they were said, here's the flavor of the day. And it was like, and they had a sign printed
Mm,
broccoli cheddar cheese cream soup. And
no.
and everybody's like, what? And she's like, kidding. And she switched it and it was strawberry. So, but they have, I didn't have it in me. I should have, but I didn't have it in me. I kind of regret not doing it. There's a thing called the Vermonter where
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
the sandwich.
oh, well, it was 10 scoops of ice cream.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
Vermonster. That's what it's
Oh, okay,
called.
okay.
And you can get a junior Vermonster, which is like 5 scoops in a bucket. And for some reason, I didn't do it. I don't know why I denied myself because we were having maple flavored soft
Mhm,
serve like every day that we were up there. So I don't know
mhm.
why I drew a line there.
Yeah,
Um,
New England has so many soft serves on a farm too, very specifically. I feel like they have all these little places with ice cream, particularly soft serve and like petting zoo animals and things like that. When I was growing up there, we used to do that a lot in the summer. And then I moved down here and I don't see anything like that, even though we have tons of farms. We could be having more ice cream, in my humble opinion. I'm going to write to our governor after this, actually.
you should. Anything with ice cream. I know
Yes.
the chat is behind that. We all love ice cream, I think. So I will tell you, this is for all seasons. So we start with what do we start with?
Spring. And it's
Spring, summer,
spring.
fall, winter.
Yeah.
So it goes through the 4 seasons and oh wow, look at this. This is amazing. This is him inside the tornado, I think. No. Oh no, he's putting out a chemical fire by
Mhm.
sucking all the oxygen out of it. So I the reason I really love this, and it it showed. I feel like it really leaned into the loneliness and isolation.
Mm.
That even somebody that's he's popular as Superman, but it's a lot about Clark on the farm. And even on the farm, he overhears because of his super hearing. He can overhear his parents talking about him as he's sort of growing into his powers and he's becoming more powerful. Where even they're kind of worried about
Mhm.
what he could become, and he overhears it. And even in his own house, he feels lonely and isolated.
Mhm.
So I feel again like this really humanized this alien. It really, to me, now of course there's adventures in the big city. There's adventures with Lex Luthor. There's why did I have that highlighted? Oh, the loneliness and isolation. Because he got played by Lex Luthor, and he got, since Clark plays by the rules, he got played by Lex Luthor on something,
Mhm.
and he decides he needs to go back home for a while, and he needs to stay in Smallville. And this picture just really kind of sums it up. Even, I need to come stay here in Smallville for a while. He's feeling even more lonely and isolated. And here's the other part where he's carving the turkey.
Yeah, it's kind of a like parallel scene to the one earlier. It's very cool.
Yeah, and Lois doesn't play as big a part in this as Lana does, which I always appreciate. Lana's I'm a big fan of Lana Lang, and it really leans into the loneliness and isolation that Clark feels. So it does. We have a big serving of empathy, as you said earlier, and he goes up against Lex in the big city of Metropolis, who is completely amoral, and I think Superman Clark is not used to somebody playing by their own rules. And I will say that the one thing that, okay, I need to get I thought I had the picture highlighted, but it's this kid. This kid's not playing on the street. Where the hell, I realize comics are not real life, but in what world are we having an unguardrailed upper floor of an apartment building? There's even a scene where he's got his bike up there. Oh, it was in the winter because he had his bike up there in the snow. So I need to find that, because he's got his bike out on the snow of this roof, and I'm like, what? Here it is. What world is this where this kid is playing with his bike on the edge of a 40-story skyscraper? There's no guardrails. It's him and his cat, where he's running around on the upper levels with his bike out there. That didn't take me out of the story, but I thought that was an odd thing to happen.
Well, you know whose kids are always playing on rooftops? Bruce Wayne. So in what world it would be Gotham? In Gotham, the kids are running around. They're not even wearing warm clothes in the winter. They're just wearing tights.
Yeah, well, that's true. And that was a great transition. That was more of an analogy, but I'll give it the transition. There we go. So it really leans into the Smallville part of it and his humble beginnings, and how he's stayed so humble, and because of Smallville, and how he's grounded because of Smallville, the small town values, so to speak. I'm not going to say every small town is like that, but Smallville's like that. Where you get his hometown keeps him regularly grounded because of his friendship with Lana. I didn't particularly care for Pete in this book. Pete's pretty cynical.
Oh, you mean Peter Bailey? That was really cool, though, to have a little George Bailey parallel. Because did you know when he's going in, he's done it 3 times, because he goes,
where he rubs
I want $1 million. Hot
I want
dog.
to, yeah.
Yeah. He does it like 3 times.
I actually did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think it's intentional because, like, the story of George Bailey, obviously, in It's a Wonderful Life, is he's trying to leave, and so is Pete Ross here. He's trying to leave Smallville, and ironically, he's the only one that doesn't, which is exactly what happens with George Bailey. And I think again, like, it's just this little tip off that adds to like the nostalgia of the book, which I thought was smart. But I agree.
I have to go get my power cord for some reason. I'm running out of juice, but go ahead.
Oh, no problem. I was just gonna say I agree that Lana really shines in this, and Pete maybe is a little. He's really only used to contrast, in my opinion. Like, he's not used as his own character. He's just used to illustrate points for the others. But one thing that showed up here that I actually hadn't given a lot of thought to, except for in the TV show Smallville, it is kind of a theme, is the idea of Clark relating to Lana, because technically speaking, they're both adopted, even though her aunt, it's like someone she knows. I did think, like, I don't give a lot of thought to that, but it does come up a bit in here. And I thought it's just a neat thing that, yeah, I hadn't given much consideration to, but might be something I take with me as a more intentional thing in the back of my head when I read more stories with them. Because I do think this is a great book for her if you're a fan, absolutely. And I think that aspect comes through and just isn't something that was as on my it's not as front of mind for me, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Right. And I didn't see Smallville, but I hadn't really been made aware of the fact that she was adopted either. But you're right. That way they can relate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the colors, the art, I did like Tim Sale's art in this, for the most part, except for Superman's face.
What about the butt shot while he's flying? Did you love that? I thought it was funny, but it's such an awkward page for me.
I don't see, now that's exactly why I have another person on, is to show me the stuff that I missed.
Oh, how could you miss the butt shot? Let me try to pull it up. It's when he's taking let's see.
What's he doing? What's he doing in it?
How don't you remember this? So when he's taking Lana up and telling her, can you see it from him?
Oh yeah.
And it's just a giant, I mean, that's his butt is half the page. Jess, how could you miss this giant butt?
I was concentrating more on the fact they were flying and that he was giving her.
It's just a lot, is all I have to say about that. It was like, it's not a butt shot you really want, in my opinion.
It's a frumpy butt. It's not Dick Grayson's butt.
To each their own, though. Maybe that is for someone, and that's okay, as we said earlier. Yeah, I like the art. And you were mentioning the loneliness. One choice that I think was obviously intentional is this book is also heavy on narration, like prose style narration, linking narration. And a choice that they made was each of the seasons is narrated by a different person, and none of them are Clark. So the reader is also a bit alienated from Clark. So when he talks about loneliness, like that, I think was very intentional. That actually the reader also has been kept at a distance. He has interactions that let us know how he's feeling a bit, but all the intimate narration, all the viewpoints we get are just from other people in his life, not him. And I definitely think that was intentional. I heard, and I don't own the Absolute, but I did order it after this because it's been on my list for so long.
Yeah.
I heard there's an additional short about the prom that Ma Kent narrates, and so I'm excited to read that because it's probably online, but I haven't yet. And so when mine comes, that's the first thing I'll do, because that is someone I would also have wanted to hear from. I get why they chose the others that they did. But I'm excited to get her narration in this version.
Well, I won't even show you any of it.
Yeah.
There's also when Clark met Bruce, that's a 2-pager. That's about 6 pages, the prom. Then there's I'm not sure who's narrating this. There's also a scrapbook. Who is narrating this? I took this photo. Oh, I think Jimmy Olsen. Wait, but Jimmy doesn't know who the heck is narrating this. It's all I took this photo, one of the earliest ones of Superman in action. He really is the greatest hero of them all. Then there's also Sam's story, which is a childhood friend of Clark's. That's actually very moving.
Hmm.
So yeah, you do get a lot of extra shot, a lot of extra stories, but there's also a lot of cool back matter. Like usually these unfinished pages
Mm-hmm.
don't really do that much for me. I mean, they're fine if you like unfinished
Mm-hmm.
art, but I think they are really impactful because then you see the fabulous coloring
Yeah, you see
that's
the
done
impact
on
they
top
make.
of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this. Wait, maybe I could find the butt shot unfinished. Let's see. That
We all
that
need to see it again without
the one
color.
the one that you feel is the greatest Superman shot ever.
Absolutely. Yes.
Um,
It was just so big, Jess. Like, I just don't know how you didn't like flag it immediately, but
I didn't notice it.
you're a better person than me, I guess, is the response.
The what?
You might be a better person than me then, maybe.
Well, I don't know about that. It just didn't. I just didn't notice that it was his butt. But there's a lot of really cool stuff without the coloring, which I think
Yeah.
because it's important to see it with because it's the coloring was such a major part of this book, and the main reason I think you're going to be really happy with the absolute. This is very much. I mean, I think this spread right here,
Mm.
it just shows him under the same tree at different parts: spring, summer, winter, and fall,
Mhm.
whatever. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Um, just right there, I think that has a lot of meaning. And in black and white, and then they get into the blue line coloring technique, which is interesting because of all the coloring, how the
Mm.
coloring was such an important part. But of all the absolutes I own, I think this is the one where I generally don't really care about scripts.
Mhm.
I understand why some people do. I'm not one of them, but uh, the back matter is really, I really poured over it very carefully because of how interesting it was. And Kristen, this will be the only time she ever appreciates a Superman book, is because of the finish on the cover, on the
Mhm.
covers itself is so cool.
Oh, nice.
It's not glossy. It's I don't know what paper it's on, but it's a rough, soft, kind of a softest, roughish feel. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a good choice to be an absolute for you.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. I think I might
Absolutely.
pick up Absolute all seasons. It'll be my first Absolute. Alex, I think it's a good choice for you. Not only is it a great story, but you want Absolutes are. I don't own every Absolute, but the Absolutes, but the ones I do own, I picked up because I not only like the story, but I want the art blown up.
This one also I thought it was interesting. Freddie, if you are safely somewhere where you can message, don't drive and message.
He's
I
still
think this
messaging.
I think this is one that you said that you think is new reader friendly, and I would agree. It's one of the kind of Mount Rushmore pantheon, whatever Superman stories that I actually think is good for new readers. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing that they did that was interesting to me is spring, while it's important, the farm stuff in the spring season is important thematically later on. It in itself is a bit of its sort of self-contained origin in a way. And then summer, fall, and winter are actually one continuous story for the most part. And so it's not an anthology where it's like a bunch of disconnected stories where new readers can't grasp onto something, but it provides you in a non repetitive way, in a really more nostalgic and engaging way, some form of an origin, and then gives you a story that does hit these themes that we love, but actually through an actual connecting story. And I think that makes it very unique. I can't actually think of another book just immediately off my head that's doing both of those things and
Yeah,
doing them well, I think.
that's a good point. Let's see. Do, 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 do. Oh, I missed some Ben and Jerry's talk. Elon. Everybody wants
Got to give the
Elon.
people what they want.
The Wings of Desire from Next. The Wings of Desire sequel, Far Away, So Close, is supposedly also very good, but I'm still not yet at liberty to attest to it.
This is like a whole franchise I am unaware of, so
Oh,
I'll be excited to dive in.
I saw Paris, Texas, and it is really, really good. That's also, I liked it better than Wings of Desire, but it's great. I really enjoyed Paris, Texas. I think I have the
have heard of that
soundtrack.
one.
I have the soundtrack by Ry Cooder from that. It's really good. Doc Elevator loves Sale's chunkier Superman.
What do you think about the butt? Report back.
Doc, what do you think about that butt? For All Seasons is my favorite Pa Kent book.
I mean, I get why, yeah.
It's that one book Earth-2 Jess sent me. I've sent you more than one book. Haven't I? Oh, and now we're going. Oh, I missed a lot. Let's see. Okay, I have Wings of Desire and DVD. Yeah, I will watch tonight. By the way, that Brat Pack documentary on Hulu is my most recent viewing, and it's really good. I saw that Andrew McCarthy, I think, is behind that. I did see something about that. On the X-Men Omnibus Evergreen show, I picked 4 books. For all seasons, really enjoyed that. Brunch, then they all sit in front of you to watch the live stream. Thanks. Good to have you here, Smothery Lion. Paris, Texas. More stuff about Wings of Desire. Talking about Wings of Desire. Never tried Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia until recently, and now I'm mad at myself. I could have been eating this for decades. Well, but think if you'd never tried it. Now you have a whole lifetime in front of you of Cherry Garcia. And I'm not eating ice cream at the moment, but I went to pick up a prescription the other day, and to get to the pharmacy, you go down through the ice cream aisle, and they're always out of vanilla caramel fudge, which is my all-time favorite flavor from Ben and Jerry's. They're always out of it. And I saw that they had a bunch of it, and then I realized they're always out of it because I'm always buying it. So now it's in stock, but I can't partake. I can't eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
That is a top tier one, Cherry Garcia. That is not America's butt. Yeah, I think Grayson has America's butt. Hondo, I really liked Primordial. Quick read and wonderful art. Overall, good but not great. Okay. I actually really liked Primordial, but I can get why maybe you didn't. I don't know what LL Cool J song this is. What? Something about a butt?
Yeah, something I wonder if it was referencing something.
Scripts. I love. Marshall's. Hey, Jess. I just watched your Secret Six review. Well, thank you. River, what'd you think? Does it make you want to buy it? Because you really should. At least read it. Does Jessica have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't have the energy for that.
But you appear on somebody's show, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Occasionally, old reader, new reader with Maddie. And then I haven't been on as much with Kristen because she's been down and out, doing more important things, which good, growing a baby and all. So
having another human inside her.
Yeah, that's valuable hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, the slipcase. Let me get that. It's also in that textured paper.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for my copy.
Jesse Say What? Happy you're doing a live stream today and also loves Paris, Texas. Me too. Oh, LL Cool
Here's
J
this
has a
one.
song called Big Old Butt. Okay.
He is actually in the dedication. No, just kidding. It's Norman Rockwell, then LL Cool J.
LL Cool J.
What if it was though? That'd be amazing.
That would. I got the inspiration for this picture of Clark from the LL Cool J song.
Yeah.
Cherry Garcia is lit. River says absolutely must have. Okay, good. I think you will really dig Secret Six. LOL, Earth-1 Jess? Earth-1 Jess. Wait, that's you. Okay, so
Yeah.
something you said was funny.
I
Good.
mean,
Good for you.
I'm here to please. Absolutely
Yeah.
here to entertain.
Good, good. So what would you rate this? I still haven't
Oh.
rated this on Goodreads yet. What will you give it?
If I could give it 6 out of 5, I would, but it has to be 5 out of 5. This is like the only thing I don't even cringe at the butt. It's fine. The butt's fine. It's just funny. I just thought like everyone knows that page, but apparently my mind is the only one that's like, that's a big butt. But the only thing I was like, felt could have been better, but it just doesn't hold it back in my opinion enough to weight it, is I thought the Toxin was a little cheesy, like the Toxin villain when she's like,
Her character?
yeah, just like when she's interacting and she's like, he says her name and she's like, no, it's Toxin, like Superman. I was like, I don't know. This is a little corny,
That
but
I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
but everything else, I want to show this one thing because I want to pile onto the art, and then this is exactly why it's uh 6 out of 5. There are these two shots, and I'm curious, the black and white pages, I'm like gonna go straight to these to see if they're the same. Where at the beginning, Pa Kent is talking about finding the ship, and then towards the end, Clark is thinking about where he's coming from. And without saying it explicitly, they use color to reflect in the glasses. So instead of seeing his eyes like you would in the others, same when Clark is later on wearing glasses, you actually see space. And I just thought, like, that is brilliant. And that is great storytelling. That's art telling the story. And the call, like I said, all of the callbacks and the follow throughs, the symmetry, like it's just a perfect book to me. I really, that little cringy vortex thing, like it's not for me, but it doesn't hold me back at all from feeling like wildly emotional, to be honest. And this resonated with me. You were talking about loneliness. It's so interesting because you can go through seasons of loneliness where you're surrounded by people. But because the experience you're going through, you're having trouble finding others that are going through that same thing, it makes you feel more isolated. And without going into tons of details, I'm in a season like that in my life. Like I am in my 30s. And when you're in your 30s, you have people in lots of different stages. And so it can feel very isolating. You've got people who've been married for a long time, have a lot of kids, people who've just gotten married, people who are working their dream jobs. They've like made it, in their career, people who are really struggling to even figure out like where they're trying to go. And that's true of every age bracket, but there's something about your 20s and 30s that I think feels isolating in some ways because the paths are very divergent, in my opinion, at that stage. And so you can feel like nobody's quite on this same path as me. Like, is something wrong with me? Or am I not doing it right? Am I not working hard enough? And it's just inevitable, and you can have great friends and great people around you, but that feeling of loneliness just hits at different seasons of your life. And the winter scene at the end, that's the message of it, that all of the seasons are there to teach us something. And the pastor's like giving this speech about that we live through them, we learn things, and that helps us go forward. They're all important. They can all teach us something. And I think it especially resonated with me now because I am in a season that's similar. Even though I have great friends and great community, I totally know what that feels like to have these moments where you feel lonely in your experience, in your life, how you're living it. And it's important to remember that that season will come and will go and it all has a purpose. And so it really especially hit me. And that's the stuff of magic that Vortex cannot hold back from. So yeah, I love this one. It's one of my favorite books of all time,
When you say
especially for the band.
vortex, do you
Or
mean
Toxin.
toxin?
Toxin,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. What we both admitted to being a little choked up at the end of this
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it's because of what you just said that it sort of hit with you? And that's why you got moved?
Absolutely. And I felt comforted by the pastor and comforted by Pa Kent at the sunset. Like, those are moments when you read it where you really sit with the emotion and you see someone telling you this is why, right? And lets you sit with it and lets you think about it. And reading something really lets you do that because you can pause and reflect. Watching something, it'll keep going. I mean, you could pause it, I guess, but yeah, I think that's exactly right. It hit at the right time. It provided comfort, but also it provided that sense of feeling seen in my struggle currently, or one of my struggles currently. And so, yeah, I appreciated it. What choked you up about it? I know we texted each other that we were feeling that way.
I think just overall that the feeling, I don't, it wasn't it wasn't the end so much that got me choked up as that part that I showed earlier about when he came back after
Mhm.
Toxin, he gets outwitted by it was this part where he said,
Mhm.
I I need to stay here in Smallville for a while after having
Mhm.
been humbled by uh, Lex and feeling kind of more alienated than even normal.
Mhm.
He has to go back home. I don't want to say to get, well, maybe to get in touch with himself, remind him of, you know, I no, he's sent home sort of with his tail between his legs.
Mhm.
Um, having been humbled and having all these powers and still getting outwitted. He's I feel like that's the part that got me choked up is that he needed to go back home just to be back home with his parents and with
Mhm.
the town he grew up in. Um, it's I just was really moved by it. The fact that uh, he just needed to go home.
Mhm.
I mean, even now I'm getting choked up about it just thinking
Mhm.
about it. With his dog and his parents. Um, I just thought it did a remarkable job of creating anytime you can get moved by a comic book, I think
Mhm.
shows that the writer and the artist have really done their job because
Mhm.
a lot of times people read these as sort of an escape from reality. We read them because they're fun. We read them for
Mhm.
different reasons. But anytime you actually get so moved that you get choked up
Mhm.
um, by a comic book, I think that shows that it's an engaging um, it's an engaging format. You really
Mhm.
that's the writer reaching out to you and making a connection with you.
Mhm.
Uh, so the fact that we were both moved at different parts of it means that he Jeff Lobensail and the colorist all they got two people at two different times in the book.
Mhm.
So to me that says, well, maybe there's even more parts in this book that maybe resonated with other people
Oh, for sure.
that got them choked up, or even if they just went, oh wow, what a
Mhm.
moment. even that, when you can get a comic book where you can just go, what a moment. That's,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't see peace and love, but I don't see people getting that from coin collecting or stamp
Hmm.
collecting, baseball cards. Peace and love, those are all valid hobbies. I have nothing against them, but not only do we collect comics, but we have the advantage of being able to read them, and they can be enriching. Like we both had our, I think um even though we both were moved for different reasons,
Hmm.
and I think that our different reasons and our different parts of the book that moved us, I think that's enriching. That shows how
Hmm.
powerful a medium comic books can be.
Yeah, and I just made a connection. I love when this happens because you were sharing what was connecting with you. And one question I kept having, I liked it, but I was like, why is this? And when you were talking, I was like, oh, this might be why. Is there, I think it's Shelby, the name of the dog. Is that right? Um,
I think
Shelby is shown or mentioned in all four of these. There's one where Clark's in Metropolis. I think it might be summer or fall. I can't remember. And he's actually writing to Ma and Pa. And he's like, just wanting to know how Shelby's doing or whatever the
yeah.
name is. And then, of course, at the end, when he's been home and they have the disaster, he also saves Shelby. And I was thinking, this dog is kind of subtly in a lot of this, and I never noticed that. But when you were talking, I was thinking about what I love about my dog is he doesn't care what my job is. He doesn't care how I look that day. He doesn't care how much money I'm making. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He doesn't care if I was a superhero. He literally would not know. You know what I mean? Like he just gets excited for me to come home. End of story. And I think part of why we all sometimes will have this feeling of wanting to come home, even if it's not the home you were raised in. Sometimes home is a person or a memory. It's usually a place where we felt like we were safe and had unconditional love, which in my opinion, having a dog, like the unconditional love is what I think of when I think about a dog. Like he just
Mhm.
doesn't care. And in a time where Clark is superheroing for the first time, and even in Lois's narration, I remember she talking about the perfect guy. Like, wow, what a guy who could compete. That's a lot to live up to for anyone, which is pointed out in the narration. And so he's being asked to be all of these people. And so all he wants is to go and be a place where no matter how he shows up, he's unconditionally loved. And I think that might be why the dog is in there a lot. As you were talking, like I just kept having that question. And when you were talking, I think it connects to that feeling of home and a place where you could be yourself and yeah, be unconditionally loved and appreciated.
Yeah, that is the great thing about dogs, is that unconditional love. Um, well, yeah, I do miss my dog. I miss the dog right before we had our
Hmm.
dog, but that unconditional love, yeah, hadn't picked up. See, that's good that you
Yeah.
said that, because I hadn't picked up on how it was an unassuming role, but it was an important role that the dog was in, prominently featured in panels
Hmm.
in each of the four seasons. Um, and now, peace and love to all the cat lovers out there, but
Uh-oh.
no, I'm going to say how Lily was like a dog.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
posted it on Instagram that the cat was in the house. I think Patty was over at the old folks home where she volunteers, and I was lying down, and the cat climbed up and then just laid down on my stomach,
Mm.
and I was like, I'm going to be captured here. I didn't know that cats did that. And
Hmm.
then when I finally got up, she she moved around and she wanted to be close to me, and she put her head on my lap. And I didn't
Mm.
know cats did that. I was like,
Hmm.
this cat is acting like a dog. This is
Oh.
awesome. Um, and people who don't know me or my history with dogs or anything probably look at my IG page and say, why is he making such a big deal out about this cat? Well, it's first of
Mhm.
all because we don't own a cat. It adopted us, and the fact that the cat snuggled up to me and put its face on me, I just didn't know cats did that. So,
Mhm. I will say Kristen, Omnicat's cats are very snuggly.
oh
They are.
yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
see that on the air. They
Yeah.
they they go up and they perch like right on top of her during the show. So the the cat in my house is not unconditional or loving. My friends' cats do that, laying on top of them. Can't relate.
Well, and every pet's different. There are dogs that are a bit pretentious like that, and there are cats that. But I think a pet, you could generalize to say a pet. I just have a soft spot for dogs, and there was a dog in this story, so.
Same. Yeah. And I don't deny that I said this. I feel like I might have said it earlier than that, though. Because I think she's been coming in for a while now. You got manly eye sweat? Yeah. Lethal Lucha loves Three Jokers. I will admit that I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. I own it because it was sent to me by OPB, but I actually haven't read it yet. And good, I'm glad that you like it, Lethal. That's the beauty of comics, is that some of us may
Yeah, exactly.
you got a few people out there.
I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of them. I just never noticed it, and that's why we reread. You know what I mean? You reread things and you discuss them because I think it points out, it makes them more full. It's a more full experience to come back and to hear other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
I assume so. What do you said you hadn't rated this, but like now that we've talked it out, what are you thinking?
Well, it'll be 5 out of 5.
Okay.
And I generally don't put comments in. Usually I put them in when I rate it like 4.6 or 4.2 or 3.8. I'll say why it was a 3.8, because I don't like that it's 5 full. It has to be a full star. Like 3 stars out of 5 to me says it was okay, but not great. Two means did not care for it. 1 means this book should not have been printed. So I feel like there's a lot of nuance that's missing in that system. So I just will put a comment in. But I may say that this is not only one of my favorite Superman stories, but is my favorite absolute, just because of all the back matter that is so cool once you know about the watercoloring and the blue art technique or whatever it's called. It's a special thing that they talk about. Scripts, I said, that I don't really care much about, but I'm not finding it now. The blue art technique, something, and then they have interviews talking with Tim Sale about Superman, so that's pretty cool. All these people, they have quotes about Tim Sale since he passed away. This book got printed, so they were able to give him posthumous, how much they cared about him, posthumously, those kind of comments. Another thing, select interior inked pages by Tim Sale for all seasons 1 through 4. Due to high demand for Sale's original art pages, DC has strived to assemble as many original pages as possible with the assistance of the comic art collectors community. So there's hardly any, it's not like DC has a bunch of pages lying around that they can just show you. A ton of them are in private collections, which shows you the popularity of them. Then they've got sketches by him, and layouts. Wait, what's this part? It's blue line coloring technique, and then they walk you through it, because the colors are so important. Yeah, I think this is my favorite absolute of all, and I own a lot of good absolutes. As I said, I don't buy an absolute unless I want the art blown up. And now that I know what I do about the coloring, it's even more important to me that I have it in oversized format, because it's going to be bigger for me to enjoy. So yeah, I can I can see, yeah, this is my favorite absolute. So 5 out of 5 favorite absolute, just incredibly moving. And I can see, I hadn't, I hadn't reread this probably in 8 years, so it was all
Mhm.
pretty new to me again. So yeah, it was. I was, I was really happy with this. Very happy.
Yeah, I'm glad we reread. Both of these made me feel really good. I really they hit at the right time, both of them. Love when
Mhm.
that happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Now Hondo is waxing poetically about me, so
Love.
I don't know that I need to highlight that, because then it shows, might show that I'm narcissistic and not as humble. But thank you, Hondo, at 527. If anybody wants to look at how much Hondo thinks of me, that's very kind of you to say the words that you did about me, Hondo. I really appreciate you as a friend too. Um, and oh, Summoners has nice things to say about me too. Thank you. I think Summoner might be a relatively recent uh,
Viewer.
viewer. Yeah.
And I think you can accept compliments and still be humble, though. You can be confident and still be humble. So I think that that's good.
So are you saying I should show them, or
You
I can?
can. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's okay. You can accept compliments and still be a humble person.
Okay. In addition to being a cool dude and friend, Jess puts out great content and is fluid enough to talk absolutes, trades, foreign films, and don't get Omnidog started on food and sports. That is true. My kindred bro. Thank you, buddy. Oh, and Summoner, I agree, has surprised me positively with his style. Well, thank you. Jess's performance, both as a show leader and guest, has definitely exceeded my expectations in a delightful way. Summoner, you are welcome back anytime you want to come back. Thank you.
That's like a great Yelp review.
Yeah, and you got a compliment from Hondo when you were talking about the struggles of being in your
Thank
30s.
you.
So that's nice. I don't want to not show uh, the positive comments about you. Um, Oh, I don't want to show that one, Freddie. I no None of us need to know about that show at 541.
I saw
Um,
that.
I think
Well,
that
I'm not watching that, Freddie. He had asked earlier what I'm into right now. The reality TV I just finished watching was Traders Australia season 2. I just finished binging it this week.
tr- traders or traitors.
Trait Traitors. Traitors is.
They're being what's it about?
Have you ever played Mafia before? Like, you close
Is
your
that a
eyes and
board
a
game?
no,
Oh,
it's like a I don't really know how to describe it, but usually you sit in a circle and some of you are selected anonymously as the murderer or the investigator. You all close your heads and then the murderers work together to take someone out while everyone's eyes are closed, usually by pointing. Then you look up and people guess, and you got to see like, can the townspeople figure out who the murderers are or the mafia are before the mafia take everybody out. It's like a
oh,
game people play a lot when they're in high school or college, or at least when I was younger, we would do that a lot. There's also
uh-huh.
like different versions of it. The idea is like some of you are tapped as in this show traders, and then the others are faithful, and you do different activities and you do that same thing. So um
Traders to
you,
their country or to their partners?
it's just a make believe thing. Like traders and faithfuls are what they call, and they try to figure out who each other are using that same mechanism. But like in
Oh,
the US show, let me do the US one. Alan Cumming is the host, and he's like very fabulous in all his outfits. And they film it in like a castle in like Scotland, and they do these elaborate competitions. And when they do the voting of who they're going to banish or whatever, they do it in this fancy mahogany boardroom, etc. So there's like a Traders US, Traders New Zealand, Traders Australia, Traders England. And so Traders Australia season 2 just became available for US viewers. Anyways,
Okay.
they have reality TV people on there, though. None from the show Freddie is talking about. But I'm not opposed. I watch Love Island, so I have no standards whatsoever. I'll watch whatever.
Okay. Well, let me show what he said then. People have to read Three Jokers just to say you did. It's interesting. I enjoy Three Jokers. The only complaints I hear about it for what it means for continuity, and I didn't care about that. I enjoyed the first chapter of Three Jokers because it made sense to me, the desire for revenge. The next two chapters fell flat for me, and Fabok's art deserved the absolute treatment. Exactly. Okay. Well, I do know there's an absolute for it, and I do like his art. Oh, also has Earth-1 just seen MILF Manor because I just saw some clips and Max talked to me about it, and I'm very traumatized. The only reality show I like watching Taskmaster, the British Taskmaster. I haven't seen nearly as much as my daughter has. That's another one Kelly and I try to watch as much as we can. I love Taskmaster. I don't know that that's really a reality show, but it's real people doing insane things and being hysterical about it. So
I think it's reality. Yeah. There's like
okay.
reality comedy, reality competition, reality dating, reality cesspool, like whatever.
I did watch reality TV. I watched America's Got Talent, all the
Yeah.
seasons. Howard Stern was a judge because I love
Okay.
Howard Stern, so I watched all those. I think that was 3 or 4 seasons. But I loved America's Got Talent when Howard was on. And then I watched all of season 2. This is going way back. Season 2 of what's that show that Clay Aikman got discovered on?
Oh, American Idol. I love that Clay
American
Aiken
Idol.
was your reference of all of them. You couldn't pick Kelly Clarkson. You were like Clay Aiken.
I only saw season 2, and that was
Oh, okay.
Clay Aiken and Ruben Stoddard.
Yep.
I watched that from beginning to end with my family, and I never cared about before or after. For some reason, I got sucked into that. Patty's way into the voice, so I will walk by and I'll get sucked in for a little bit to the voice. So I do have working knowledge of how it works. And then I think that's about it for reality shows. She does like The Voice, and I think she watches America's Got Talent when it's on in the summer. Freddie, Hondo. Elon is awesome. He offered to carry me to the library.
That's very nice. I hope
Yes.
you're working out, Elon. That's a lot to carry another person all the way.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't live in the same place.
Final scene, Danny DeVito throw mama from the train. Emotional coin collecting. Ah, okay. Emotional coin collecting. That's the next binge I'm gonna do by myself. For The Simpsons, I'm gonna start with the latest episode and work my way back of all Treehouse of Horrors. Those are always consistently funny, so I want to see all the Treehouse of Horrors. I don't know what season it's on now, but I'm gonna find those. And
a lot. But if you're just doing a Halloween special, I think you'll survive the binge.
Yeah.
I say that, but I know you haven't given the people what they want and watched Doctor Who. We all know.
Boy, and there are a lot of people. The Venn diagram of comic book people and Doctor Who watchers is practically a full circle. There's lots of Doctor Who fans out there. And I know Freddie sent me a spreadsheet. He also, of course, famously sent me a spreadsheet of the animated shows I know I need to watch to get up to speed on Ahsoka, and I still haven't done that. That was like a year ago that he did that. I do want to do that, but I still have to finish Batman the Animated Series. So I loved that episode I saw of Doctor Who, that Blink episode. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
So
Blink is a good one.
I feel like Freddie's already sent me a spreadsheet on Doctor Who, and I am not opposed to watching it. I would really like to watch it a lot. And Chris has to binge the new season of Doctor Who.
Let me tell you, I'll just gonna warn you, Chris. I have overall enjoyed it. Also, I want to say in a minute, I have to leave for a soccer match to watch a soccer match in like 5 minutes. Don't let me
Okay,
forget.
5-minute
But
warning.
I will just do this brief thing on Doctor Who. There was one episode in there that's very early on, because I'm not sure how far behind you are, like if you've seen the specials or what have you, that I really did not like. And I was wanting to die. And I was like, I hope the whole season isn't like this. And it got a lot better. So if you reach that episode, Chris, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about because I haven't met anyone that enjoyed it, keep going. I really did like where this season ended. And I do love Shuti as the new Doctor. Like, I think he's really, really, really good, even if that story was not my favorite. So I'm excited to see what you think of the new direction. It has its pros and cons, but I think it's striking a pretty good balance of being inviting still to new people, and then also, having like nerds who like to watch classic Doctor Who get their little Easter eggs in, which is kind of fun.
This is not the way to get me motivated, James. 882 more to go.
I think he's probably counting classic Who, I would think. Yeah.
Are you watching the US versus Bolivia?
No, I'm watching my local NWSL team, Racing Louisville, play their regular season match. Yeah.
That's televised. You're going to it.
No, televised. No, I'm not driving to Louisville on a school night. Absolutely not.
School night.
No, I do. They're away. They're playing in. Who are we playing tonight? That's a great question. They're on the West Coast, so no, I'm not driving out that way.
Sazmurf approves.
Yeah, let's hope for a win.
There's some solid Who out there. My eyes instantly glaze over whenever wrestling talk pops up, but we can talk about Doctor Who all day. So it sounds like I'd be doing myself and the viewers a service if I learned more about and watched more about Doctor Who, because then I could relate more to the viewers. I'm trying to.
There are enough standalone ones too. I mean, Freddie's spreadsheet probably cover this, but there are probably enough standalone ones, maybe one for almost each modern Doctor, maybe not quite, that you don't have to watch other things and you can get enjoyment out of, that you could probably get like a little charcuterie board of Doctor Who without watching from the beginning, knowing that it takes you some time. So I think that's possible.
Schmancy. Okay.
Cornucopia, whatever metaphor you want to use.
Maybe start with Matt Smith, Doctor Who. Karen Gillan might keep you interested. I like Karen Gillan. But I also like Alex Kingston. So was she before or after Karen Gillan?
There's only one episode, well, a 2-part episode, I believe, that she's in with David Tennant's Doctor right before
Alex Kingston?
that. Yes.
Oh, she wasn't a companion for like the whole season?
No, she's like a recurring character. That's the best way to put her. And she goes through multiple doctors. So I think it's a 2-parter that is her. Someone will correct me if I'm not. But the Midnight Library, or is it the Midnight Library? Somebody's going to put it in the chat. I believe it's a 2-part episode. Silence in the Library, something of this nature. That's her initial debut, and that's going to be with David Tennant's Doctor. But her recurring character role sort of mostly starts under Matt Smith's era.
Oh, okay. I parked only to tell you this. I only sent a spreadsheet of Alex Kingston. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There we go. Silence in the Library. Thank you. And Forest of the Dead. Off my head, I was really struggling. Yes, this is like the 2-part episode under Tennant. And then she's a recurring character through several other doctors after that. So.
I actually had been thinking about this because I'm going to have Lars on Saturdays, and to talk to him obviously our connection is comics, but he's a Doctor Who authority, so I will have to watch some Doctor Who just so I can talk to him. You said specifically you only wanted Alex Kingston to start with, but I could do one and done episodes. I'm okay starting a season and watching a season. But
yeah, if you mostly want her and you wanted to watch continuous episodes, I would watch that 2-parter under Tennant and then start with Matt Smith. I love David Tennant and I love Christopher Eccleston, so it would make me very sad that you wouldn't have gotten as much with them, but I think that's a lot of people start with Matt Smith and just go forward from there. The quality of the technology that was available and also the money that the BBC was putting in it went substantially up with Matt Smith, because that's when they started selling international distribution rights. So they were making a lot more money. Like, it went on Netflix under him. And so the quality is a little bit better in that aspect. But some of the stories are great otherwise.
Okay, so Matt Smith is the actor who played Doctor Who.
Yeah, they're known by their numbers. So
what number are we on now, and what number was Matt Smith?
Actually, I'm not going to answer what number we're on now because that's a divisive question, and Doctor Who fans in the chat will understand.
Oh man!
But Matt Smith was 11. It's when it came back in 2000, was it 2005? Christopher Eccleston was that first sort of reboot Doctor. It had been off air for a while. That's number 9. Tennant number 10. And then so Matt Smith number 11.
Oh, Tennant was number 10. Okay, so would you say I'm better off starting, like, cards on the everything's open to me. I'm willing to watch whatever Doctor Who. Would you say I'm better off starting with number 9 just overall as a Doctor Who newbie? I know the concept.
Everyone's going to have different feelings about this. I love that first season 1, the 2005 reboot. The special effects are very bad, and it's like still very aimed at the widest audience as far as like children, for example. But there are stories in there that are some of my absolute favorite still to this day. So I actually think it's a great one, because also that first series is a self-contained story. So you pretty much get a full story, and that is Eccleston's entire run as the Doctor on the TV screen. He's done like other stuff. So in my opinion, that's actually a fine place to start. But I do understand the comment in the chat of starting at Matt Smith, because I've had friends who couldn't handle the cheesiness and the special effects. And so I just tell them to start with Matt Smith, and they were a lot happier, and then later went back and appreciated the other stuff.
Well, as long as it's not typical early BBC with the actor in front of a black screen in the obvious poor lighting in the studio. I've seen.
Oh, there's some poor studio lighting in series 1. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you.
No, that as long as it's not that black screen. I remember I read Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere, and I loved the book, and then I saw that the BBC did a production. I thought, oh, cool. I love Neverwhere. I'll get the DVD. It was that freaking, I knew, I should have known it was that they spend $1 or £1 on special effects. It's just that dumb black screen in back of them with the obvious lighting and stuff. I was like,
no, it's a bit. I've seen that miniseries because I love that book too. Also, I'm sure you know this, but Neil Gaiman has written several Doctor Who episodes and books as well. But it is a step above that, but it still is a bit poor production quality. I mean, Freddie can probably speak to the more accurate ways it's poor production, but it's obvious that they got more money when Matt Smith came on.
Okay, it's substantially better than other BBC, but it's still super cheesy. What is that? The Matt Smith or before Matt Smith?
He's in general, but this is definitely more referring to Christopher Eccleston's series 1 of the when it came back.
Of the reboot, Christopher Eccleston.
It's not really a reboot. That's why it's hard to describe. They just called it series 1, even though there were other seasons with lots of doctors prior to that. But it was off air. They had like a TV movie while it was off air for a period of time. And then in 2005, they're like, we're a show again. Here's the new Doctor. And so
Pre
that's what people
2000.
call new
Okay.
Who. Things
Oh,
that are
new Who.
2005 forward are new Who. The other stuff before it is classic Doctor Who.
And classic is probably that black screen with the poor studio lighting, right?
Well, like early 60s classic Who is very charming because it's almost Twilight Zone-y in how it's filmed. And I mean, I love the Twilight Zone. So
I do
like the
too.
Hartnell, Patrick Troughton's my favorite Doctor. That era is black and white. And so it's kind of like part of the fun and the charm. But then you do get into 70s BBC style stuff with the moving forward after that.
Okay, I am willing to start from 2005 on.
Oh yeah, I'm not telling you to go back. No, I'm not encouraging that. I love it, but it's not for everybody.
Yes, like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Well said. AS is a fan of how
Exactly.
you embrace the cheese. Okay. I started with 9 and knew nothing about it and enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Okay, wait. So
same.
what's 9?
Series 1 of the 2005 and forward of New Who. 9
Okay,
is Christopher Eccleston's Doctor number. So
okay,
he's
so 9 is
the 9th
with,
Doctor.
okay, so 9 is 2005.
Yeah, if you were to go, where is it now? Max, I think, is where it's at now. If you go to Max, like HBO Max, and you click on Doctor Who, you're gonna probably see like Series 1, and it'll say 2005, and then it goes forward, and that's gonna be the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston forward.
That sounds doable because I'm actually interested, and that means I might actually watch it. No, I'm not doing any abridged stuff. I want to see all cheesy whatever stuff that Jess likes. I liked Matt Smith and House of the Dragon. Might be tempted to check out this Doctor Who. Okay.
My reminder alarm to hop off is going off in the other room. I can hear it. So I'll have to pop out. But you're more than welcome to keep obviously chatting with the chat. I just didn't want to not say goodbye and randomly disappear.
Oh, and T-Lar Bloot just showed up. Oh, why don't you return any of my phone calls, jerk? Okay, well, we'll figure out what we're going to be reading for the next time. And Jess needs to leave. So we will be ending this show. Let's see. You can somebody had a nice compliment about the Mount Rushmore show that Omnibros did. You did not. I have a record of it. So thank you for the nice compliment on the Mount Rushmore thing. So I'll be on Omnibros this week, and then next Saturday night I'm having BJ Kicks from Comics Are Dope on, and I will keep everyone posted on what my further adventures are. Oh, thanks, Kane. We're glad you could be here. Thank you for the show. Have a nice rest of your days. Go Jessica's team.
That's right.
And you can all come to my Discord. I'm also on Instagram, and hopefully I continue to feel well and I can put out content. So everybody, thank you. And it was great having Jess on. I always appreciate some fun Superman talk. Always good talking to her. So I will play us out using my theme song, Peace and Love, Peace and Love. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace and love.